the May 3rd Site Plan Review Technical Advisory Committee for the City of Portsmouth. I'll note that we have a quorum. First item of business is the approval of minutes from April 5th, 2022. Are there any edits? The motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The minutes are approved. First item under old business, 375 Banfield Road. That has continued to be postponed, but we do expect that to be back next month. Item B, the request of Sagamore Group LLC, owner for properties located at 1169 Sagamore Avenue and 1171 Sagamore Avenue, requesting site plan review approval for the demolition of 3 existing principal structures, 3 single-family units, and 3 existing accessory structures to be replaced with 6 single-family structures and 2 two-family structures to total 10 living units on 22 parking spaces where 15 is required. Said properties are shown on Assessor Map 224, Lot 14, and Assessor Map 224, Lot 15, and lie within the mixed residential office district. Who's here?
Hello, Joe Coronati, Jones and Beach.
Mike Garrity with Garrity Planning Consultants.
So I think we've received comments from the TAC group. We had 8 comments, and then we also received a letter from Altus on Friday and a letter from Ambit today. And so I think we only had a couple of questions regarding those. And I think one of them was the last meeting. It was suggested we add a culvert across Sagamore. At that meeting, and I think the meeting even before that, we had talked about not needing a conditional use permit because the work on Sagamore was within the city right away. And I'm just wondering if is the request for the conditional use permit for the other side of the road, for your side? The
Right, I think anything outside of the right-of-way that's on city
right.
property that's in the wetland buffer.
All right, so if we could keep it, so it's just really the rule is if it's within the right-of-way, it wouldn't need one, but because we're just outside the right-of-way, we do.
If we can reduce that impact to just being inside the right-of-way, and would that eliminate the need to do that, Peter?
Let me try to bring it up here. Is that possible? I don't know.
I don't know if that's
Yeah, I don't know if it is either.
just
Lot structure and
The other,
we'll obviously look at that to see if we can do that.
yeah, with the riprap, it doesn't look very likely,
right.
even if we pull the head wall back. The other one was the request for the jellyfish style filter. We obviously have a treatment, lots of treatment on our site. The jellyfish would be in line. Or somehow it would either be, there's 2 styles. There's a drop inlet, like a catch basin where the water comes in through the top. And then there's one where it's in line and could be along a culvert. And I assume that's for the culvert, crossing Sagamore, but if we're already treating our water, can we either not add the jellyfish or reduce the treatment on our site so that and then the jellyfish would then provide the treatment since our water all heads in that same direction. Just we kind of have double treatment going on throughout our site. And then would that also be something the city would maintain if it's in the? You guys have maintained those, because I know they're pretty heavy maintenance requirements. I don't know if that's something we should have a meeting with Eric Weinrib about, and that's his decision, or if it's, or if Dave, if you want to be at that meeting and we figure out some of those details.
Could
whose comment that was? Is it Public Works comment or is it Peter Britt's?
I think it was Eric Weinberg's, essentially. It was in his letter. I don't know. I don't know if it came
It's driven
from
by
first, though.
Peter Britz, myself, and Eric combined.
Okay.
Anything else you had?
No, I guess my main goal for today, well, I was hoping we may be able to get through TAC today, but it looks like, just based on some of these comments, we're going to have to at least come back another time. But my hope was that when we're done with the technical aspects of the application, this committee can advance us forward, even though we still may have some outstanding issues relative to going to see the Conservation Commission and getting council sign off on those types of things that are sort of outside the purview of this committee. So that's the main reason why I wanted to come today, and I think I outlined that in my email to you folks last week. So it looks like we still have a little bit of work left to do before we're ready to obviously advance beyond this committee. But it'd be like, and I think at this point we'd probably need to come back next month. At the same time, we'll be working to get on the CONCOM agenda and work on some of those council issues as well with respect to.
I think that's the sequence we envisioned. I'm not a voting member of TAC at this point, so I would defer to leisure when they're ready to move this forward. But we envisioned as a staff that once you cleared TAC, you would go through CONCOM and council, and you could do that. I mean, I think council will want to hear what CONCOM has to say regarding the culvert, that they feel comfortable with it, and then I think that would pending placement on planning board after.
Great. Perfect.
Is that your understanding as well, Chief?
I believe so. And I don't think DPW had a chance to look through the third-party review comments since they were sent late Friday.
And I don't think we had any major concerns or issues with Altus review comments, or for that matter, AMBITS, although we just got AMBITS today. So I think aside from the treatment issue with the culvert, I don't think we had any real issues, concerns, or questions. So if we can do that, maybe have a meeting with Dave and with Eric and whoever else may need to attend to talk about how we do handle the treatment discharge from the culvert. That'd be productive.
Are there any other questions or comments from any TAC members?
Dave, are you comfortable with that plan? Are you comfortable with that suggested plan? Just a meeting and then proposing?
Yeah, it's fine. It's just really just Peter Britz coming to terms with.
Treatment before it's discharged, okay. So we'll set that meeting up.
Sure, that'd be great. I think part of that treatment is really for the stormwater that's coming as a result of constructing the sidewalk and, both.
Principally, that's where the pollution will come from.
Sure.
Yep.
So I think it's probably in all of our interests to get together to figure out how we handle that. Plus, I know you're going to extend the sidewalk even further at some point in the future, so we need to accommodate for that as well.
Only if we have a culvert.
Correct. Yep.
All right. Still, since we do have members of the public here, we'll entertain any comment from anyone in the public.
Thank you. I'm Bill Bowen, the president of the Sea Star Cove Homeowners Association, which is the property to the west, and we own the piece of property to the north, which we share the area where the water's draining to the north. First, I'd like to make a couple comments. We would like to see that area developed. It's really not very attractive as it is and can be better used. We do think the number of 10 units is too intense, and it drives a a water management system which is frail and subject to not working properly unless it's intensely maintained, which would have an impact on the people who buy there, and it would have an impact potentially on us and the people to the further north. It seems as if the culvert answers the immediate problem about having a system that operates within the parameters, and assuming that's done properly, so be it. We do have probably 4 concerns to mention. One is the landscaping around our property. We've had discussions going back probably a year with Mike about what that would be. There's an area, there's a row of trees along the west boundary of the property that will divide from us. We had discussed with Mike potentially running it around the corner to the north, to the northwest, and coming maybe another 10 yards or so.
Just that little section.
So that we would, our view of our homes into their backyards would be protected, and the view of from their homes into our front yards would be protected. My understanding is if it's not on the blueprint, it isn't going to happen. So we would like to reopen that to be done. There's John. We had John Chagnon from Ambit take a look at this. He designed our system, and we feel very confident in John. He had a couple of recommendations in the letter that went to Mike today, and to the TAC committee today, about one dealing with filtration and one dealing with backflow from a chamber. We're concerned that downstream, if this doesn't, this is a 30-year project, and the people that live there 2 years from now won't remember, and certainly 30 years from now nobody will know. So having it designed to minimize the risk of not working properly is a big concern of ours. As a item that I'm not really sure legally how it works, but we've got an easement that we inherited from Consolidated Communications that goes back to the Moose Club in 1994, that runs through the piece of property that's on our connection there to the north, and there's a connection to the pole that I think you're going to be moving. Part of our agreement with them is that we wouldn't affect what they were doing. 30 years later, somebody else comes along and does it. I don't know what the responsibility of the city is, or the developer is, or what our limitations are on what happens with that easement. Not saying it can't be done. I just don't understand whether we need to give approval, or whether the city needs to give approval, or the developer needs to provide an indemnification, or if it just happens. Then the third thing is, these are probably the final thing is probably something that everybody in our circumstance is concerned about always, is the construction period. In this setting, there'll be a tremendous amount of blasting, and I understand there's a process for that, and there's insurance and inspections, and we're kind of girding ourselves for that. There's we've been, I guess the question is access of construction equipment and such, as it might impact our neighborhood. I'm assuming that entry will be off of Sagamore and not through our private road that is our facility. On the other hand, kind of from the beginning here, we've had surveyors and other people coming into our facility without letting us know that they're coming. And we've had people digging around on our land to the north of the property without telling us that they were going to be doing that on our property. So there's a little bit of bad history there that I would say that we want to be sure that nobody intrudes on our land and puts equipment on our land and deals on our land, either on our private road or in the area to the north, without us being aware, or at least having an opportunity to object if somebody is going to damage our property.
Can I ask a question, Peter?
Sure.
You mentioned the landscaping that you wanted extended on the, I guess, northwest corner, around the corner, I
Yes.
suppose. Was that for the purpose of buffering?
Yes.
Buffering for the adjacent uses, and how much were you saying you thought it should be extended? What were you saying, just around the corner, just to create a view buffer?
No, there's 10 yards,
Okay.
15 yards. I don't know how many trees that comes to.
Yeah, that's not an issue. It was an oversight on my part to not have already added that in. And I think there's a fairly significant oak tree that might be kind of where we might terminate that additional landscaping, might be at that tree, Bill.
Yeah, there's one that, I don't know, actually fair distance down there, probably behind your unit number 3, that we would really like to see maintained. It's on the lot line.
It's on the line, yeah.
Not even positive that it's, might be a shared tree.
Sure. Yeah, so we may just terminate that additional landscaping near that tree.
And keep that tree.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah.
That's a good fix. If it doesn't come up here, it'll come up in planning board, and they'll probably make it a condition anyway.
Sure.
That's probably a good idea. Thanks.
And we're happy to put a note on the plan about access to our property, that certainly we would not be parking on your road or anything of that nature. We can add a note to that effect if it's appropriate to do so.
There is some material that we'll be removing on your property, the fill material. You guys requested to be removed, as well as the city, so that's on it. And I think the other areas where the surveyors were on your property was to locate your buildings and your ponds, so we could show them on these plans, not for any other reason.
I'm sure it was for a good purpose. It just seemed inappropriate not to let us know that was going to happen.
Thank you. Any other public comment at this time? I noticed there's several people on the Zoom call. Would anyone like to make any comments on this application? Please raise your hand. Seeing none, we will hold that public comment period for another meeting, but I'll entertain a motion to continue this application.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks so much.
All right, the next item is request of Master and Restaurants, Inc., owner, and Granite State Convenience applicant for property located at 2255 Lafayette Road, requesting site plan review and conditional use approval for use 19.40 under section 10.440 to allow a drive-through facility as an accessory use to a permitted principal use in the Gateway Corridor Zone. Said property is shown on Assessor Map 272, Lot 3, and lies within the Gateway Corridor G1 district. Who is here to present?
All right. Hello, my name is Nicole Duquette. I'm GPI. Also with me is Attorney John Boson and Brad Parna from the Common Man Roadside or Granite State Convenience. We believe that Stephanie, thank you for the comments the other day. There was a couple of, I do want to mention comment number 1. We're fine with adding that note regarding witnessing the sewer service. Comment number 2, we do have a note regarding discontinuing the water main. We actually have it on 2 plans just to make sure it happens. We have it on the demo plan as the last note on that plan, and we have it on the utility plan as note number 16, and it's referenced right at our water line connection. See note 16. So we do have that really well represented on the plan. The third comment, regarding the porous pavement, that's for the sidewalk that is connecting the multi-use path to our site. What we're requesting happen is that we removed that sidewalk until, because right now there's no connection to that multi-use path on either butter, and there's no crosswalks to that sidewalk. So we're asking, to the multi-use path. So we're asking just to remove that connecting sidewalk for now until there is a need for it. So that we'll address that in the future, add that sidewalk in the future if there is a connection to either other properties with this multi-use path or crosswalks to properties across the street. So I think that would handle comment number 3. And comment number 4, we have no problem with video inspecting the 2 spots to confirm no groundwater infiltration is occurring after the sewer service is plugged, existing sewer service is plugged. And I believe that is it for the comments at this point.
Any comments from TAC members?
So you're talking about eliminating the sidewalk coming into the site from Route 1?
From the multi-use path into,
Yeah.
thank you, Peter. Yes, that sidewalk right there. We're not saying that we won't do it in the future, but right now there is no need for it, seeing as there's no connection to that multi-use path other than in front of our site.
Yeah. My only concern is people coming across the street from Water Country. You know, they will be attracted to run across the street and use that. So I could see that use coming, even though there won't be any connection, as you say, along the multi-use path. There is people who will be crossing the street to get there.
And right now there's no crosswalks.
No,
to
that doesn't stop them.
It doesn't, but it is a little bit of a liability issue too, because now we're creating a connection to nothing. And the whole reason to remove this is because of the whole new pavement within the wetland buffer at this point. We could try to have it on the other side, which we could do, put it on that side
To this crosswalk?
to that crosswalk. We could do something on that side as well if
Yeah, that would be
if the city would prefer that. It's just hard to get a batch of pavement for that small work.
Yeah. Yeah, the other side of the site is fine.
Okay.
Any other comments from TAC at this time? All right, we'll open, are there any public comments on this application, either people that are present or on Zoom? I don't see any hands raised or anyone stepping up, so we'll close that portion of the hearing and give it up to TAC for discussion.
Is there any reason not to recommend right now?
Seems like the only outstanding comment right now, unless if Public Works is satisfied with the comment, the responses to the comments that are 1 through 3 is to relocate the sidewalk to, it looks like, is it the southwest side of the site, that to create a connection to the multi-use path. And that seems to be the one outstanding comment that would still be there prior to submittal to the planning board. Are there other comments?
It would be the northwest side.
Oh, sorry.
It's southwest on the plan, but
Okay.
That seems like the only comment, yeah.
Yes, we can add that. Correct.
Or is that still outstanding?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve this, recommend approval of this to the planning board with that change. As long as there's some sort of sidewalk coming into the site from Route 1.
Understood.
It's absolutely required.
Second.
Second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I do have one question. We did submit plans for Conservation Commission next week and Planning Board copies by the April 27th deadline for the, I think it's May 19th. Are we all set for that?
Are they, I don't remember seeing this on the agenda for the 19th. Is it on the agenda for, I don't remember seeing it. Yeah.
Can you give me a call after this meeting?
Sure.
And we can work out the details?
Sure I can.
You
All right.
submitted for the 19th.
Yes, yeah, we submitted by April 27th for both the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board. All right, thank you.
The last item of old business is the request of HCA Realty, Inc., owner, and Portsmouth Regional Hospital applicant for property located at 0 Borthwick Avenue, requesting site plan approval for the construction of a satellite parking lot consisting of 520 spaces and associated site improvements to support the existing hospital facilities currently serviced by 783 parking spaces. Said property is shown on Assessor Map 234, Lot 7-4A, and is located in the Office Research District.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Patrick Crimmins with Ty and Bond. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. We submitted revised package to you folks last month with a comment response to the comments at last meeting. I was just going to go into the comments that we had received yesterday. That works. So, number one, please note redirection of drainage flow may dry out the wetland in the central area of the lot. The stormwater has been designed to kind of mimic the flow patterns of the existing stormwater, so they're all going to that larger wetland complex. So we are designing the stormwater management in accordance with typical drainage design.
So it looks like it's outletting in a different spot.
Understood, but it's going to that larger wetland complex, so the point of analysis is all still.
I understand, but the upper reaches of the watershed are probably going to get dried out. That was what the comment was.
Well, you can, I think it's very obvious to see that we're trying to avoid the buffer. So,
Yep. You can't outfall that about 70 feet to the north?
we'll take a look. We've tried very carefully to design this and to avoid that wet buffer impact, but we'll take a look.
Yeah, even if you could shift it 40 or 50 feet, it would probably make a difference.
Okay. There's at least one tree being shown planted over subsurface drainage detention system. I guess we tried to carefully avoid that as well. I think there may be one that is maybe close, so we'll shift it a few feet to make sure there's clear separation on the plan. 3, drainage study to be reviewed and approved, including calculations submitted for the culvert at the intersection of Borthwick and Route 1 bypass. We agree to that. We've been working with the Department of Public Works over the past month on that culvert. We had provided calculations, received some comments on them. We've revised the model to update it based on those comments, and we will add it to the drainage study that is intended to be peer-reviewed. Please add a note that all work in the city right-of-way is subject to DPW review and approval. Note number 8 states all off-site work to be coordinated with DPW, but we'll revise that note to say that exact language. Number 5, near the top of the hill on Borthwick, the applicant is showing regrading the edge of the right-of-way, which will kill the existing trees. Is this necessary? Looking closely at the contours, the regrading is very minimal. It's maybe 6 inches around those trees. We could take a closer look, but there is going to be a little regrading because we're being asked to add curb. Please address the pavement thicknesses as specified are insufficient for modern pavements.
And maybe they're not to you, but they just seem very, very thin and kind of short-sighted.
We had a geotechnical evaluation done, so that's what the basis is, but I do understand in terms of the callouts and the section itself, it's not very typical, and we are going to change that. We are just basing it on the geotechnical recommendations, but we'll update that, Dave. The RRFBs will require a maintenance agreement for the owner to maintain it in perpetuity. The owner has no issue with that. We'll add that as a note to the plan. It looks like the hydrant on Borthwick will need to get pushed back about 2 feet. That's something we did look at when we laid out the path. You know, this looking at the center where it was surveyed, it's right on the edge of the path. So at most it might be 6 inches into the path, but if we need to move it, we will. I don't know if we can add a note that could be field verified to confirm if it needs to be moved.
There's actually 2 hydrants, Patrick. There's one by both entrances.
Okay.
And the other one to the Route 1 bypass side is actually worse.
All right. We'll just show it to be moved. Add curb to the other side of Borthwick as well. This curb already shown. We'll add the additional catch basin as requested at the entrance. 10, please address if PJF1 structure should be uphill from the infiltration basin. It should be uphill. It's an infiltration basin, so we're providing the treatment before the water enters the structure.
Right now, I think it's on the outlet, unless I'm reading it wrong.
The question is, should address it should be up. It is uphill a bit, though.
Okay,
I'm sorry if I read that wrong.
Gotcha.
Yep.
thank you.
Internal sidewalk on islands should have tip-down ramps. Agreed. It was just an oversight. I think it's that middle path that goes to the, we just didn't add those lines. The rest of the sidewalks throughout the site show tip-downs, but we'll make sure that they're all shown accordingly. Isles intersection driveway at the entrance should have stop signs and stop lines. Agreed, we will add. If possible, the HP access aisles should have no parking signs in front of them. We have no problem adding those as well. The driveway at EDF Avenue should have a double yellow center line and stop line. We will add that as well. Provide test pits for ledge and groundwater near the 2 stormwater detention areas. This is critical to prove the drainage design will function properly. We have performed test pits and borings within the vicinity of the drainage systems. We will add those to the drainage study that will be peer reviewed. And staff are still waiting for a third-party review of the project. Agreed. We are too. So I think everything else is very minor in nature. You know, adding some lane lines, tip downs. I don't see any issues. I think the biggest outstanding issue is the peer review, which we were hoped to have done by today, but it has not.
All right, thanks, Patrick. Any comments from TAC members?
Was my comment in there about the dead-end aisle? I can't remember if that was in there.
There's no.
See it.
I just needed a spot to turn around at the end there.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about, Eric. It will eliminate the bumps and add a striping there.
Yeah. Just square it off at the end.
Yep. Exactly.
I really haven't had a chance to really study this a lot, but it looks like there's a restrictive layer in the soil about 3 feet down. And it looks like the infiltration area is up to 5 feet deep in spots. So I didn't know what the plan was to... Is there a plan?
I guess, can you repeat it? The infiltration basin.
The infiltration basin that's on the right-hand side of the site
Yep.
says on the plan that the inverts are at elevation 25.
Yep.
The top of the topography, the worst-case scenario is right around elevation 30. So that's 5 feet of cut. And looking at the drain study, one of the things is I couldn't find the test pits because they're in the drain study.
Okay.
But, so if you had put them on the existing features plan, they would have been readily available. But it looks like there's a, soil is, has some sort of restricted layer, 3 and 3.5 feet down. And again, you gotta go between 2 or 3 different documents to get that data, but
So we can over excavate the restricting area underneath, it's well drained.
okay. So you might need to look at that a little bit before the final review goes to the third-party engineer. Just make sure that it doesn't come back as a comment.
Any other comments at this time? Are there any public comments on this? Either on Zoom or in person? Seeing none, close that portion of the hearing. Entertain a motion just to continue waiting on the third party.
Can we move that along? It's been a month, we haven't even got the agreement to execute. It's gonna hold this project up. We're trying to get this done this construction season.
I haven't gotten plans yet.
Understood, you don't have a signed agreement.
We need to have the plans to see what the
To do the-
project is, so we can.
It's PDFs, sir, but okay, we'll get them to you. Understood.
Okay.
Motion to postpone?
Yep. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, on to new business. Item A, the request of 404 Islington Street LLC owner for property located at 404 Islington Street, requesting a conditional use permit under section 10.1112.14 of the zoning ordinance to provide 10 parking spaces where 13 are required. Said property is shown on Assessor Map 145, Lot 33, and it's located in the Historic District and the Character District 4L-2, CD4L2.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Attorney John Boson. I represent the applicant who's under contract to purchase the Martin Hill Inn, which is located at 404 Islington Street. With me is Tim Johnson, who's planning to purchase the property, and Sarah. Sorry, Sarah.
There's always so many chairs.
There's so many chairs. Sarah Howard is here from Market Square Architects, and John Shagnon from Ambit. As you may recall, the existing inn, it currently has 7 rooms and a caretaker suite. The applicant is not proposing any exterior renovations to the inn, with the exception of a handicap ramp that will go before the HDC for approval. But on the inside, the plan is to make renovations to bring the total unit count inside to 10 units. It would be the elimination of the caretaker's suite as well. In fact, with respect to the TAC comments, one of the comment number 2 was to confirm if the existing use is currently owner occupied, and the answer that it is currently, but the plan will not be moving forward. You know, in terms of parking, we're showing 11 spaces of parking on the plan, and that would be so that each unit would have 1 parking space and there'd be 1 overflow space. The ordinance does require a total of 13 spaces, so we will be seeking a conditional use permit before the planning board. You did see the TAC comment with respect to the supplied parking not meeting the dimensional standards, and we would suggest, or we would speak to that in terms of the existing parking arrangement, really is what it is. It's been in effect for many years. It works, and we would take the position that it's grandfathered because of its existing use for so many years. And then lastly, there was a TAC comment that we would submit for a special exception per section 10.440, use 10.22 of the zoning ordinance. And that one we're a little perplexed about because the existing use isn't in. We're not going to bed and breakfast. There won't be any food served there. It's just going to be an in-use. The in-use will continue. So because of the continuity of use, we were not under the standing that we'd have to seek a special exception. Happy to answer any questions you may have, though.
Well, it was in our review, it was our understanding that the use was going to be expanded to increase the number of rooms, since it's allowed by special exception, to expand that use.
I think also, and I'm trying to remember, because reaching back, but as it is owner-occupied now, with the room limitations, it seems like it would be technically a bed and breakfast now, but it's converting to an inn. Does that make sense? Because it's owner-occupied at this time. So bed and breakfast is owner-occupied, I think 6 to 10 guest rooms, so not every, I think the owner-occupied distinction is worth noting that it, and the reason I think we talked about that is that when there is owner-occupied, there's a certain understanding in the neighborhood that, the owners are there and that it's being maintained a certain way. As it sort of shifts to an inn to a caretaker mode, I don't think that it really creates a significant impact, but it is a way of just creating that awareness that there is a shift occurring, and that it sounds like there could be a caretaker, but there's not likely to be a caretaker on site. And so that's not required for an inn. That's, it says you may have a caretaker unit, and so there's a little bit of a shift occurring with the unit that probably is worth recognizing through a special exception. I think that's what we're looking at.
Okay.
So we did submit trip generation and parking calculations into the record. There's a minor increase in the trip generation, 4 trips per weekday. And some of the other models show that there'd be enough parking to satisfy the parking demand based on the IATP studies. Any questions about those?
Yeah, the IT says one thing and then city requirements say another, that's all. So.
Right, yep. We did look at that catch basin that was mentioned at the workshop, and we're in the process of getting it cleaned out because it's full of debris and stuff, so we can't chase the outlet. But obviously it must be infiltrating through the bottom or something. It's not causing problems at the site. So we'll get that information as soon as we can.
Any other comments from anyone on the committee? Pat?
Question, I'm just still trying to wrap my head around the number of units. So what's the current number of units in each building, and what will be the number of units in each building?
You have 7 units now with a caretaker's unit.
So it's 8.
7, so 8.
Yeah.
8 in the main building, or?
It's 4 in one, and then 4 in the other, currently.
Okay, and then
Use 6 in one and 4. 6 in one and then 4 in the other.
And 4 in the other, okay. And they would consist of each having one, say, queen size or king size bed? Okay.
Sean?
So I think we've talked about this before in this one, but so this is in fact change of use classification. We're going from what was a bed and breakfast now to an inn. Is that correct? Hence the special exception?
I think that's my understanding. Would you disagree with that statement? I think the big distinction is the owner occupation, I think that we would say, so.
Well, I'm thinking change of use with respect to accessibility. So in other words, if we're changing, are these accessible in any way? Do you have a certain percentage? Is there a ramp? Is there a way for a handicapped or a wheelchair access to get into these? Do you have accommodations that will?
Let me comment about that. Hi, Sarah Howard, Market Square Architects. We are providing a handicapped accessible ramp to the main entrance as part of this project. We're going through the HDC process with that tomorrow.
Okay, perfect. Yep, thank you.
You're welcome.
Peter, we would prefer to get the CUP for the parking if we could before seeking the special exception from the zoning board, if that's agreeable.
I think that's happened in the past.
Okay.
I think you could, yeah. It would still be technically, I guess, because a bed and breakfast can also be up to 10 guest rooms, so I think that would.
Any other comments?
I just reiterate that I think it's critical to have the off-site parking provided as per the city's requirements.
I think that has been, we've seen several parking CUPs, and oddly, I think maybe 2 inns that we've seen come to the planning board. They like to see that if they can see that opportunity, you're close, but if there's a way to share parking with somebody.
Yeah, and we've had really good discussions with our neighbors.
I think that would be something that they have favorably looked at. They've approved the last, I want to say there's been 2 that have come before them.
One of them was mine, Court Street.
Right, Court is a great example, and they like to see that as a backup. I think that that's always beneficial when you can bring that forward.
Would anyone from the public like to make any comments, either in person or on Zoom?
We're doing a barbecue next week. We are. This is what we do.
Elizabeth Bratter, property owner, 159 McDonough Street. There is a concern. Well, first, I'm not able to find the 11 spaces that they show on the plan. So maybe I'm missing some, but I only count 9. No matter how many times I've looked at the plan, maybe I'm missing it. So I think they're short as many spaces as they need. So they presently need to meet the requirement. They need the requirement of 13 spaces, and that's only, if you do the math, it's only because they're adding 3 more rooms. So if you get rid of the 3 more rooms, they have enough parking. But with the 3 more rooms, they need 4 more spaces, which I don't see on there. I only see a total of 9 spaces, and they're stating they have 10 or 11. So I'm wondering where those other spaces are, and how many are they really looking for to be provided in the neighborhood. So that's all I have to say.
Peter, if you can go to the
C2.
C2 plan. There's 2 spaces off of Union Street, Elizabeth. I don't know if those are the ones you missed.
Yeah, well, they're on Union Street or they're off of Union Street? I'm sorry.
Their
Access is from
the property is like a sort of a big.
Yeah, it has a Union Street access, yeah?
Yes, and then it juts out to Union Street.
Yeah?
There's 2 spaces that are next to, just south of the building.
Oh, okay. Yeah, now I see them. Yeah? All right. So there's a total of 11 on site. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Is that portion?
I have a question. So
Go ahead,
when we talk about, it is really the addition of the extra rooms that is creating the need for the parking CUP? Because I believe, I think you meet your current needs, so it's the 10 rooms that would create the parking CUP. Is the current owner-occupied room going to be one of those 10 rooms? It's just it'd be better if it went together, because it's sort of a half a story. If one of those rooms is going to be the owner-occupied room, then it's a little confusing, because then where's the owner-occupying going now? It's not a bed and breakfast. So I don't want to, I'm not sure why you wouldn't want to take them together, but I think it would be more transparent, take them together, because it's a little confusing to say we're expanding to 10 bedrooms as a bed and breakfast. That's why we need the parking, because we're not at this point seeking a conversion to an inn. But it is that caretaker, it is the owner-occupied unit that is also converting to create that extra capacity, which is part of the issue. So I don't know if they could be done simultaneously, then it's the full story. But just a thought. Peter, do you have any comments about that? We could also just make note that you'll be seeking that at a later date, but that
It would be a condition of approval or final approval. from the
Yeah,
planning
that you,
board.
okay.
Because if we don't get the parking CUP, we're done anyway.
Understood, okay.
But I understand the concern.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we'll explain that, okay.
Okay.
We still haven't determined for sure, and we have an appointment next week to do a walkthrough, Shanti and I, to make sure that the work that's going on isn't going to kick in the requirement of a sprinkler system. So until we really know that answer, we wouldn't know if there's utility work that would need to be done for that.
I think depending on the scope of the renovation, the intensification of the use, but we'll meet next
Yeah.
week and talk
Yeah,
about that.
so, I mean, from a code standpoint, we're looking at like an alteration level 2. It's not 50% of the space. The one building off Union is not proposed to have anything under the maybe code.
Got it.
So it's really just the one building.
Okay.
There's also the renovation chapter in NFPA that would need to be looked at to make sure it's not kicked in
Right.
from that standpoint as
On
well.
that one building. Right.
On the one
The other
building.
building is not even being,
Yeah, there's only work being done in one building, and that's the building we would look at for that.
Yep.
Right, and just to remember that all this before us is just the review of for the parking CUP.
right.
Okay.
So would you want to see the special exception come back to TAC once you do that walkthrough?
Not from our perspective. I was asking that for a different reason. If it was an existing building, existing use, depending on the scope of the renovation, possibly they wouldn't be required to have accessible
Oh, I understand.
accommodations, but no, from a code perspective, we're still looking at it as an inn. Bed and breakfast doesn't have any bearing on our review.
I understand.
Right. So we're okay either way, yeah, thanks.
Does anybody see a reason not to let this go forward? I can summarize the comments that are outstanding on this one, if that helps. And then I guess that we would still like to see the applicant explore opportunities for off-street parking through some kind of shared parking arrangement or parking agreement. That's an outstanding comment. And that we would want to see a special exception application submitted as part of the approval subsequent to the planning board approval for the CUP. Are there any other outstanding comments on this one?
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Next item is the request of North Church of Portsmouth owner for property located at 355 Spinney Road, requesting preliminary and final subdivision approval to subdivide one existing lot with 146,666 square feet of lot area and 10,429 feet of frontage into two lots as follows. Proposed Lot 1 with 16,820 square feet of lot area and 117.58 feet of frontage, and proposed Lot 2 with 129,846 square feet of lot area and 360.62 feet of frontage. Said property is located on Assessor Map 169, Lot 1, and lies within the Single Residence B District. Hello.
Good afternoon. I'm Doug Woodward. I'm a member and clerk of the church. And with me is Nathan Amsden, who is part of H.H. Amsden and Sons Surveyors, who is our surveyor. We did get some comments from you. Just for those of you who don't know, this is our parish house, the larger building, and our parsonage where our pastor lives, which is the smaller building in the, as it's shown there, the lower right-hand corner. We are looking to separate those because I think it's a matter of public record that we are seeking to sell the parish house. We have owned that now for over 60 years. We are going to consolidate our office functions at our church downtown. We want to put our parsonage on essentially a minimum lot, in part to provide whatever development capacity is necessary for whoever decides to buy the parish house for whatever purpose. As you can well imagine, I'm sure you've had calls. It may involve redevelopment of the building or development of the land, removal of the building. We don't know at this moment. So our main purpose at the moment is to just isolate our parsonage, again, on as close to a minimum lot as we can. You sent us some comments about the sewer. There's several sewer issues, but I believe one of them has to do with the sewer that comes out of the back of the parsonage building and then takes an angle to the northwest and crosses into our neighbor's property. There's a lot of old sewer connections in that neighborhood from a time when the sewer wasn't present there, and they go down to a city sewer along the bypass. What is shown on the plan for the parsonage is an accurate representation. We just rebuilt that section between the cleanout on our own property and the portion on the neighbor's property a winter ago, simply because the line had collapsed. I believe you've suggested that we move the property line back to encompass the sewer as it sits in the ground today, so it stays with the parsonage, or else create an easement to make it very clear. We have an easement on our neighbor's property. I did talk, Liz Good was with me last time we came to a work session. She's out of town today, but I did speak with her about moving that line back, because that, one, it makes sense to me that we keep that connection, and two, I don't see that that would be of benefit to somebody using the parish house site. It's about, would add about 1,400 square feet to the parsonage property. So I think that's what we propose to do. You've asked about confirming the sewer service to the church building, which is the parish house. It does go out of the back of that building down to the bypass. We have plumbing along the Spinney Road side of that building from the left end to the right end. As you're looking at that, there are restrooms. There is a commercial kitchen in the building. Short of digging up the property, there is no plan that we've been able to discover with the city or that we have in our possession, given that this was, again, built 1960-ish. If you want to confirm that it's functioning, my only suggestion is if we can coordinate with Public Works. In projects in my working lifetime, you could flush a dye tablet in the place and pull the manhole cover down on the bypass and make sure it's running through. We learned the hard way on the parsonage that things stopped running through, but that is why we rebuilt that one. Obviously, whatever somebody comes up with for this site, they may want to reuse it, or they may be totally reconstructing things on site, and they will dig it up. So you'll have to give us further direction on whether that's an adequate confirmation, because I don't know what other way this is a slab-on-grade structure. The plumbing goes down under the slab. There's no manhole covers, no cleanouts, or they could be under pavement. We know where the manhole is down in the bypass. And then you asked about the property line up front, why we didn't want to stay on the old stone wall. The parsonage was originally a house that was left to the church about the same time as the property. We developed the property here. Obviously, that land was vacant at the time. The parsonage goes back into the 1940s at least, and maybe in the late 30s. The city records refer to the 1960s. Well, it didn't. That's not accurate. We simply wanted the minimum frontage. We're trying to essentially keep the minimum amount of property that's reasonable with that. One, for the church not to be burdened with excess land maintenance. Two, we wanted to leave as much flexibility with the parish house for whoever and for whatever purpose they want to use it for. So that's where we're at, and I'd be glad to try to answer questions. And
Thank you. Any comments or questions?
So I think the importance of knowing where the sewer line is to confirm that before you subdivide this parcel off, that there's no part of the sewer for the parish hall going across this proposed parsonage lot. That easements are required that we don't know about.
yeah, well,
That's the reason why we're asking. And
The
if you wanted to dye test that with the sewer department, I have opened up the manhole down by the bypass. I can tell that, as far as I can tell, it's not the nicest manhole in the world, but as far as I can tell, I can see that other pipe coming in parallel to the bypass. So if we could see dye coming into that pipe, I think it would be reassured that is going that way, and it's not going the way that the parsonage is going.
sure.
The issue with the stone wall, I think, has more to do with potentially that area not being maintained because somebody else owns it. And it would be an odd thing that somebody would have to go around the stone wall to maintain a piece of property now. So unless the wall gets moved, then it really makes sense to go with the wall.
Well, one option, and I mentioned this to Liz, and we didn't resolve it, but if that's important to you, we can certainly have retain an easement over it so that the church keeps the right and the responsibility to maintain it. It's not something that, it only creates some more yard space, really, to go with the other property.
Yep, I understand.
The new line would
Either one would be fine. Move the wall, change the property line, do an easement, and then you need to have an easement for the sewer line on the backside.
Yeah, if we move the line back, it'll be on our...
That's what you need to do.
Yeah, and I like that idea, actually. How would we go about working out a time and place to do the dye test? Obviously, I think you...
Just call the sewer department.
Okay.
Yep. They know that you're going through TAC.
Okay.
Sure, they'll be helpful.
Yep. And do you have a specific time deadline that if we make the modification, move the back line back, to submit a revised copy of a plan to you? I'm sure you do.
Yeah, all of our deadlines are listed on the planning department website.
Okay.
I don't have them in front of me, but
All right, Liz will know then.
yeah.
Yeah,
Liz
okay.
is familiar with
Yeah,
that.
thank you.
Any other comments at this time? Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak on this application?
Afternoon. Tyler Kelly, the neighboring abutter at 245 Spinney Road. So I appreciate the intel on moving back the back lot line to obviously cover the sewage line that crosses into my property. Rock wall, just so I understand, I know it's on the opposite side of my property. Where do we land on that? I know you just gave a couple options, Dave, but the rock wall on this map is shown where?
This
there. Okay, and they were going to cut off that little triangle.
Right. Talk about this 17 feet along the road.
Yep.
That would be more or less orphaned. That's the issue.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree with you on the rock wall. I think that's where it should be, on the other side. Secondarily, I guess it's questions, I'm not sure how I would officially ask this. So that lot ends on the parsonage if it moves back beyond the sewer line, and then the remaining lot that abuts my property goes with the larger lot? Is that the proposal that I'm looking at?
Yeah, I mean, that's, essentially, it's all one giant lot today, so
Yep.
you have we're taking out the part just to go with the parsonage.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'll listen. I'm not sure what part of the process it's in, but no further questions at this time.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Anyone on Zoom like to comment? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. And up to TAC for discussion. Motion.
I'll move to postpone this till next month so you can see the final plan revision.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Moving along, the next item, item C, the request of James and Gail Sanders, owners for property located at 445 Marcy Street, requesting preliminary and final subdivision approval to subdivide one lot with 14,947 square feet of lot area and frontage on Marcy Street, Prey Street, and Partridge Street into two lots as follows. Proposed Lot 1 with 6,127 square feet of lot area and 102.43 feet of frontage on Marcy Street and 67.83 feet of frontage on Prey Street. Proposed Lot 2 with 8,820 square feet of lot area and 802 feet of frontage on Prey Street and 62.44 feet of frontage on Partridge Street. Said property is located on Assessor Map 101, Lot 3, and lies within the General Residence B and Historic Districts. Who is here to present?
Eric Weinrib. I'm with Altus Engineering, and I wasn't sure if I was going to have any friends with me today. Jim Sanders and Tracy Kozak, project architect. Jim's the owner with his wife, Gail. Excuse me. So it's 445 Marcy Street. It's tax map 101, lot 3. It is the lot, the vacant lot, or per se the vacant lot with the candy shack on it. It has been owned by 445 Marcy Street LLC for quite some time. How long?
Over 25 years.
Over 25 years. So it's been part of the Sanders properties that are all down on the waterfront. It's, as mentioned, it's 0.34 acres in area and has frontage on the three streets, Marcy, Prey, and Partridge. And by lot area and frontage, or lot by frontage, we have enough area, land for 3 lots. We're 53 square feet short of having the required area for 3 lots. and there was no option for them. They did not want to create a third lot and go through the variance process. 2 lots is what they were looking to do. So we have the 2-lot subdivision on the 6,127 square foot lot, primarily is along Marcy Street, and then the larger lot, the 8,820 square foot lot, is on Prey and Partridge. And very simple 2-lot subdivision. However, at this point, we know that Jim and Gail are going to be relocating to this property. So we went through the design process, working with Tracy to develop a site plan for the development. And so what you have up there is the proposed site plan with access off of Partridge. It's about 17 feet wide at the entrance, going in straight to a 2-car garage, and then narrowing, well, continuing up so that they could have access for groceries and so forth up by the midpoint of the lot, so that they go straight into the house. And then, what's that?
Handicap.
And handicap accessible, because the garage is a little bit lower, and then a path, walkway up to Prey Street. To mitigate the stormwater runoff due to the impervious areas, we've made the driveway permeable. We've right now on Partridge Street floods in numerous storm events. So what we did is we created a larger stormwater management area depression to the, well, I'll say to the right of the or east of the driveway. There's an existing 6-inch pipe that discharges across the abutting property and then into a catch basin in the Sanders Lobster Pound driveway, and then discharging out into the resource area, into the harbor. The parcel is within the 250-foot shoreline buffer, and it's also within the 100-year portion of it, within the 100-year flood zone AE 8 or 8.3 with the elevation conversion. What we've done is we've set the finished floor to elevation 13 to mitigate both climate change and the 100-year flood issues. That's about it for my initial presentation. We did get comments from TAC. Thank you, Stephanie, last night. And there's 6 comments. We have no issue with any of them. I did already discuss where the 6-inch drain pipe goes, and we can make adjustments to the design for the sewer and the underdrain connections, and the 1.5-inch water line, we can reduce the size to 1 inch on that. And we can also, or will also, work with DPW, Eversource, and the other utilities on the relocation of the power underground, or if it doesn't allow it to go underground, to actually move it closer to the right-of-way or into the right-of-way so that it doesn't get into the building envelope or adjacent to the building envelope. And we will have no issue noting that the driveway for Lot 1 would need to be 30 feet away from the Marcy Street intersection. And I assume you're talking about that being on Prey Street.
So one last issue that wasn't on the letter, Eric.
You can't add another.
Is what are you doing for provisions for stormwater for Lot 1?
So what we're showing is, if you look at that sheet 2,
Yep.
That the, what's the other way?
Yep.
We're allowing, there's an area where we're allowing the drainage to continue next to the driveway, right near the shed on the abutting property, and so that whoever builds on that lot will need to balance their runoff on the site and meet those pre-development conditions. We don't know what anyone's going to do. If anyone's going to do, someone will do something. But I think that to try to anticipate it, we just can't project what someone will do. But the natural flow of runoff is in that area between the shed and the in the driveway, and we have that provision for the runoff to go underneath the driveway, our new driveway, and out towards that 6-inch.
So there'd be something in the deed that allows Lot 1 to drain on Lot 2?
What's that?
There'd be something in the deed that allows Lot 1 to drain on Lot 2, not exceeding the flow?
Yeah, I mean, that can certainly be either added as a note or
Needs to
something.
be added somehow.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, they're going to end up with a 10 by 10 house.
Oh, we don't want that.
Okay.
Any other comments from TAC? Pat?
I have a question. So I assume that Lot 2 is going to have a Partridge Street address coming off of.
Yeah.
Is it, or is it, the front of the house faces Prey Street, the front door faces Prey?
So, yeah,
The
yeah,
driveway is on Partridge.
yeah, I would make it a Price Street address, yeah.
So I find that concerning because we've had this problem somewhere else where, for whatever reason, they decide to call the front of the house what really is not the front of the house.
I mean, this has a prominent front on Prey.
It very much looks like the front on Prey, and it very much looks like the back of the house on Partridge. And we're specifically trying to get the parking in back of the house, so it complies with the historic nature of the neighborhood.
The driveway's off Partridge,
Yeah.
which is where, for example, you get called for an ambulance. The ambulance is going to want to go where the driveway is. So we want to go to the street that is. We run into this recently on Eagle Road.
You mean like my house?
Is it your house? It may be.
Well, my house is, I haven't had any emergencies, but my street address is 9 Middle, and my driveway's on Lawrence.
No, it's not your house.
And then Eric closed off the frontage on in front of my house.
Well, we actually originally wanted to have the driveway go straight through, so the driveway could have been, and there's room for it on Prey Street, but we were told we needed a variance to do that. But if it's preferable and possible, I think would still like to have the driveway access straight through.
No.
No.
Well, it would mean,
Okay.
You'd enter from Partridge Street, you'd have to because of the size. Right, because of the sheer size of it. So fire trucks would come in from the Partridge side, so that would be the address. But you're saying, no, you'd rather have the address be the Prey Street side.
Well, the front door faces Prey Street.
Right.
There is no back door on Partridge Street. You'd have to walk around.
So
the side door actually faces Marcy, because it's in the midpoint of the lot, you can see.
You know, I mean, we can address the addressing later, but I know that we're going to avoid having an address not where we're going to respond to, right? Because we don't want use and that sort of thing. Where it gets a little bit tricky is if, you know, we need to be able to get to a door within 50 feet of where we respond to, or you have to put a sprinkler in. I'm not sure if we can count a door. I mean, maybe we can just say we can get within 50 feet on Prey Street. But.
Well, there is the center door, as Eric said, facing Marcy Street, and it's along the side, side boundary of the property. Yeah, right there. The garage is about 25 feet, so that is probably not, did you say 50 feet or 30 feet?
50 feet from a
Yeah.
fire lane, which would be the street, unless the driveway's 20 feet wide at its most minimum, which I think it's 17, but that's pretty close. And we have Prey Street.
So your mailbox would be on Prey Street?
Yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine it would be anything
Well,
other than
right,
right on
it's
that front door.
It's just interesting, so you'd be driving in daily from Partridge, but then to get your mail and for everyone else.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like the front of the building is Partridge.
The driveway is Partridge, but not the front of the building.
You have it labeled on the elevations as primary front. secondary front?
Because it's a street. Yes.
Yeah. But common sense tells me it's a private street address. That's where the driveway was.
With that said, I don't know whether you would put the mailbox other than on a post by the driveway, rather than most of the mailboxes in this part of the city are all
They're right
building
by the
mounted.
front door.
Yeah, they're building mounted.
Yeah, I don't either. We're not really, I guess, concerned about the mail so much as our efficient response to the home and not going to the wrong side and then coming back around. And I don't know if we need to solve this now or if we can solve it when Jamie assigns the address.
I'm not sure, maybe I missed it. Why is it designed in this way, that its primary entrance is not associated with the street you're
Because of
seeking
the
over?
topography, there's about a 7-foot grade change from the top left corner to the bottom right, and the bottom right, as you know, floods, so you don't want to put the building, we can't put the building down low.
And
So
it's in the flood zone, that portion.
Yeah,
I
so
understand.
that just automatically puts it on Prairie Street.
Okay.
And I think there's a lot better street appeal when a building's not designed around
Yeah, I
the
think
garage.
I understand.
we can get around whether it has to be sprinkled from Prairie Street. I think we can get around the sprinkler issue from Prairie Street, but I'm concerned about more the EMS response and where that's going, that being confusing. Only because we have run into this where a building was it was built on a law office, one side street, but made to look like the front was on this is Middle Road. We can give it a Middle Road address, and that's not where we will go.
Would it be possible to design an emergency access landscape area that's not a drive-through, but just a non-landscaped area that could be available? If that, on both sides of the street, so you could go in whichever way you want.
Because the front door is on Prairie Street, EMS could go there, but you'd want to have to be able to pull in.
Are these dead-end streets?
No, they technically, yes, but they do circle around currently.
You let the fire apparatus go through, right?
Right. Is this private or is this city?
Oh, that's private. I believe. Yeah, that whole thing. But
Is this something that we even have to do to this, or can we?
Can you talk a little bit why you don't want to get a variance? Because, there's definitely kind of a weird hardship based on the drainage and I think so.
So, just playing that forward, that is something that we can go in parallel paths. We can go through the approval process here, and then if they so decide to go for a variance, this might create the hardship that we can go for it, and then wouldn't be changing the subdivision plan. We'd just be really changing the width of that walkway up front to allow it to continue forward, and then that might be able to alleviate your concerns.
Widen the driveway.
We'd have dual driveways.
I just need to wrap my head around this a little more. It's a weird kind of setup.
It's strange to me that the
We run
pathway.
into an issue, and I want to just make sure we don't have a
So-
problem here.
Could we make this potentially a condition on subsequent to getting a building permit or getting a CO or something, that it gets resolved? Because it's a street address, it's not,
It's emergency access, so prior to building permit, not CO, prior to building permit.
that's
it's
fair
gonna be
enough,
resolved.
because you might need an emergency call during building permit.
Well, it's just that we wouldn't want to issue the permit under
Based-
false premises, to say, yeah.
We've got you.
Patrick, are you saying that until such time that there is some kind of change to the driveway configuration, they should be addressed off Partridge Street.
Yeah, I think, and I don't know,
Is that
does the address affect the rest of it? I mean, does it affect, the frontage has to be on the address side or something? I mean, I don't know what the rules are for the zoning stuff, I'm just.
No, because we actually, our street frontage is on, by the 100-foot, is on Prey, and you don't have to have your access across your street front, your minimum street frontage.
So what's the reason not to have a Partridge Street address, I guess, is the question.
The reason not to have, the way the building is configured, the driveway, you go straight in off of Partridge, and unless we get zoning relief, because you're only allowed one driveway, that we would need to have zoning relief to have that continue out to Prey Street. And it was something in our initial discussion that we wanted to do, but it was determined that the variance was required.
The question was, why not just, in other words, what's the aversion to the Partridge Street address?
It's the back of the house.
Well, if they have guests come over, or Amazon Prime, or the mailman, they'll get lost on Partridge Street. They'll look for the front door and they won't see it.
Where are the guests going to park? Can they park in the driveway?
Most guests in that neighborhood park on the street. There might be, I don't know that.
Probably park at the Pound if their gym's lost.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm sure guests who are familiar with the property are going to go straight to the driveway anyway. New guests.
Yeah, just makes more sense to have the Partridge. When you say that people more familiar go to Partridge because that's naturally where you would go, why not people who aren't familiar go to the right place?
I mean, I guess I just prefer to make sure that we just resolve this prior to the building permit.
I mean, I just have to think about that sequencing, because I think, yeah. So you're saying that you would like to move forward and then worry about the variance at a later date if you feel like it's
If they so
needed, if it's
chose.
required.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because I think we're saying the same thing, except we're saying it in a different way. We're saying it's going to be addressed off Partridge unless you get a variance. If you get a variance, then then we can consider. Is that what you're feeling?
I would be
Patrick?
comfortable with that.
Yeah.
The address would be.
And I think that's what you're saying as
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
that it would be addressed, and unless you sought a variance. It's interesting to me that pathway, and I don't know if it's any concern to Eric or Public Works, it looks like it has an apron and a curb cut. Does it not, or that?
It's just a walkway.
It's just a walkway? Okay.
Yeah.
It's not, there's no curb cut there or anything? Okay,
I believe it's 5 feet wide.
Okay.
It's not.
all right. So, I mean,
So if I'm understanding what you just said,
well, I'm trying to just understand what will make you get you to a
well,
comfort
I'm
level.
looking at this as Partridge Street. So without any changes, that's what it should be, in my opinion. That is where the driveway is, that's where people are going to go.
And prior to planning board signature, the address will be established, because that's now on your checklist, correct?
Yes.
So then, by the time it even comes to my department, this will all be resolved.
Yeah. Well, we will have interim addresses, and Eric, that's a new kind of process the assessors asked us to do, is to get the interim map, lot, and block numbers and the interim addresses, request those as part of the process so that we have draft or interim numbers on what it goes to the planning board, and then once it's approved, we send her signed copy, and then she gets it recorded. There's been some disconnect and problems both on the building permit side and also on the assessing side with not having a routine procedure there. So, do we, and this is just a question for staff, is that do we not have other sites within the city where we have 0 lot lines in the front, and how do we serve provide fire access to those if they're served by alleys or they're served by some other rear parking entrance. I've seen that configuration many times.
So I assume now that thinking about it, it's Middle Street with access off of Sanderson, and those are all middle road.
One of them is a middle road.
One is middle road, one's
The
not.
rest of them are not, yeah. And they call
We do
the
have that.
front of the house the middle road side, even though it's obviously not the front of the house. Kind of, this looks similar.
Yep.
Okay.
Pat, I'll leave it with
So
you.
I don't think that we have seen this so much in single-family. I mean, we see it downtown where there is no driveways or there's, because there's no on-site parking sometimes in commercial buildings, but typically a single-family home has a driveway, and typically the driveway is the street address.
I will leave that to you about what your comfort level is, if you like the way I worded it, or if you'd like to just.
I think I like the way that you worded it, but I don't know if they like the way that you worded it. Can you repeat it?
I'll repeat it also, and if I may as well repeat, make sure that we understand what's still at play. It sounds to me like all the comments are still in play for this particular project that are listed in the TAC comments. I think they're all still the same. Except there's one additional note that you requested, Dave, saying that a note added allowing for, I think what I understood, a future drainage easement to support future development on Lot 1.
Drainage easement, just flowage.
Just
Right for Lot 1 to drain across Lot 2.
right for Lot 1 to
That's
drain
simple.
across Lot 2. Oh, got it. So note for added on that. And all the other existing notes, and then an additional note to be added per our deputy fire chief that at this time, we would recommend that it be addressed off Partridge Street until such time that a second driveway is permitted by variance on Prey Street. Is that what is that?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
That would be, those are the comments, I think.
We're fine with that.
All right, I'm going to allow any public comment at this time. If there's anyone either in person or on the Zoom call that would like to make any comments. Seeing none, we'll close that portion of the meeting. Any further discussion?
No discussion? Move to approve with the notes as stated.
Second.
Conditions.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see. Item D is the request of Riggs Enterprise LLC owner for property located at 806 Route 1 bypass, requesting site plan review for construction of 400 square feet of additional commercial space and site improvements. Said property is located on Assessor Map 161, Lot 43, and lies within the business district. Go ahead now.
Are we good to go, or are we waiting for more?
No, you're good to go.
Okay.
So yeah, this is for 806 Route 1 bypass. This is an existing, fully developed site that the owner here would like to make a small addition off the back to give a little more space inside the store. And as you can see on this plan here, we've highlighted in blue where that addition is. We did have a good work session with the board, brought up a lot of good comments, and we've incorporated those into this plan. One thing we did is add a lot of landscaping so that the site will actually be in compliance with open space, whereas it currently is not. And we also did get some comments from the board. I don't know if I can jump right into those or. Okay.
That'd be fine.
So the first item there is the sewer service. And what's going on there is we looked at the city GIS maps as well as an earlier plan about 10 years ago that showed the surrounding sewer lines and the lateral from the building. I did speak with Zach today, and Jim Tao thinks that that location is incorrect. So we want to work with DPW and figure out if that is incorrect, where we could go with a new one, where there's a new stub. If it's easy for us to tie into a new stub, because we're doing work out back anyways, we'll definitely consider that. So I guess that's kind of up in the air, but I guess it could be a condition that we work with DPW, correct the lateral location if it needs to be corrected, and work with them on that end. The next item there is 2 handicap spaces are needed, and I think Eric brought that up. Actually, for this site, we really don't need that many spaces. We only need 12 spaces, but we provide, so many more. But Eric brought up a good point. If we show a parking space and we're over 25, we need 2.
Put one here or put it here.
Yeah, so on this plan here, we do show a handicap space next to the front door. So we could also put one on the other side of the front door.
Or directly across.
Or directly across from that aisle.
We go straight across from the front door. We could do a van access down there.
Yeah, or you could just share the access aisle and make the one on the other side of it.
Yeah, put one on the other side.
There's enough room to move, yeah.
So I'm sure we can meet that requirement. The next item there was to consider extending the landscaping and curbing to the front lot line. So what happens right now is the front curb line is not on the front property line, and it's not parallel to. So there is that little gap there. A real small gap.
Yeah.
But I think on...
Well, when we move that in landscape, we'll be, putting another curb in and taking the curb and putting it within his property line. So it'll be landscape to match with the bushes, the shrubs that's there.
So we can meet that condition. The next item was add curbing to proposed landscaped islands. So you'll see in the back corner, there's some landscaped islands. That front landscaped island that's halfway in the bypass is currently curbed. So then there's those other 2 islands, but we can add curbing to those locations. So that would be fine. The next item is move space
18 next to space 17 and remove space 19. Replace, remove relocated parking spaces with landscaping and bike rack. So what that comment is about is the parking on the side of the building. And the owner would like to leave that parking as is. We have added enough landscaping so that we exceed the open space. And I think that was brought up by Nick, and he did have a good point. You know, typically when you enter a site, you want it attractive, like what's the front, what are you looking at? But this site has been developed for so long, and kind of its front or streetscape is the bypass, and the owner feels that this has been working good the way it is. So we'd like to leave those parking spaces on the side as shown. The next item is reverse the aisle for the handicap space. And we can work with Eric on that. If we reverse it, you know, we'll have to think about, are we gonna combine that with another handicap space or what? But, you know, if it's a condition to revise the plan and work with Eric on that, we'd be happy to make sure we get that extra handicap space in. And
Yeah, I actually made that comment before I realized you needed a second space, so.
Right. Right. No, that's fine. The next item there is add textured finish to entry area. So right now, in front of the front door is asphalt, and it's kind of a sloped area that provides enough slope so it's really not a slippery, icy entryway. So I don't know if we can discuss that comment or who brought it up, but the owner thought that the way it is now works pretty good.
I think it's just to distinguish that it's a pedestrian area, not a parking space.
We can cross-stripe it
Yeah,
when we
we
do
can
the striping.
Stripe that up. That makes sense.
He also thought it made it more distinctive. I mean, you remember also, Peter, I think it was partly that, partly distinguishing it as a separate from parking, but also to create a little bit more of a distinctive and, you know, front entrance from the street. I think he sought it for aesthetic reasons and safety reasons, both reasons. Is that your recollection? Yeah.
And then the final item there is extend raised sidewalk to connect the front entryway to create a 3-foot wide raised sidewalk that will step down to the entry area. So if you recall, I think Nick brought this up at the work session. It is odd the way it is right now. So there's a sidewalk in front of the building, and then it just has this triangle that goes to nothing by the front door. And I think years ago it probably made sense, but then that entryway just got put over it. So we'd be happy to accommodate that. We'll make that sidewalk return, shift that parking so there's room to do it, so that you can park in those spaces, walk on the sidewalk, and then get to the entry door. I think that's it for the items. Other things that were added to this plan set, if we could go to the elevations and floor plans. So this is an elevation of the existing, and you can see on the rear of the building, on the left side, those the difference in siding and kind of cobbled together structure. And then on the next sheet, you can see where the addition is with new lighting. So that shows up on the lighting plan as well. And then if we can go to the next sheet, so this is the floor plan, and one of the items that was brought up, I believe, by the building inspector and the fire department is, do we have, are we in code compliance as far as egress? So we did look into that, and if you go to the next sheet, we did add another egress door to the left side. So when this cooler gets pushed down into the addition, now we have that extra door, so we are code compliant there. And then I think if you scroll through the drawings, you get the specs on the lights and the foot candle contours. So all that's been included. So I think we've kind of covered everything. We'd be happy to take any comments or concerns.
On those doors coming out the back, wasn't there I thought I'd seen a painted area, just so that nobody's driving along the back of the building and someone opens up the door into the path of travel?
Right, yeah, so if you go to the site plan or one of those first plans, we did add a painted area in the back.
Oh, there it is, yep.
Yep.
I know one of the concerns about space number 19 was that they may be backing up into that, on a blind corner into the path of travel.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the thoughts of swapping it around.
Yeah, I don't really like either 18 or 19. I think you'd be much better off moving that landscape area to that side of the building. That way there's no blind corners, and it'll be easier to plow, because that landscape area is going to be right in the way. And that way you get an extra space right in front of the parking, right in front of the door, to make up for the one you're going to lose with the extra handicap spot.
Yeah, but you can have a place to tuck the bike rack in too, get it out of the way of the driveway.
Right.
But you're gonna gain.
So maybe we gain one here, but then we lose these two.
This way, when they come in, when they buy, that would be hard to back up and when people are coming in too. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. Someone's gonna back up. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
This is a different.
Oh, there's an unmarked space there next to 17. Is that? I think that was the idea, was to move 18 into that unmarked space.
And then also eliminate 19, is that kind of what you're recommending, Dave?
Yeah.
There's green space and put it
Yeah, I just,
Yeah, well,
And move the landscaping
yeah,
to
right,
somewhere between 18
out
and
of the
19.
way where it's going to actually exist.
Okay. Why isn't that, I guess it was just, why isn't there is an empty space there next to 17? It just,
Yeah, that one just was missed in CAD. That one should be counted. That is a space.
okay.
We're gonna end up doing handicap here, we're gonna end up moving.
Or if we move this, if we move this aisle over here and this is handicap and this is
This gets
handicap.
moved into this. Currently moves in.
Yeah.
Backing
But
up onto
I
somebody
think the
else's
question
land.
is it okay to lose those two and go landscape?
I know you don't wanna lose the parking on that side of the building. I mean, the way it is now.
Yeah, I have to really consider that. Because, I mean, the other thing is people come in pretty fast, so, I mean, if you're moving the park, shifting all over the handicap. Say when people come in off the thing, they come in kinda,
So parking.
so if you're moving it closer to the entrance,
So we get rid of this, move this down here. So you'd lose, so you'd
seems
lose.
like we lose
You
a lot of parking
definitely lose
spots.
those two, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I have to count the current.
That can be,
Yeah, I mean, we're at 31, so you'd be down to 29.
And then the handicap as well, right? You lose it.
Well,
one more.
yeah, I mean, one of these would change the handicap.
Because these here, no one really uses those.
Yeah, these. Really don't get used.
No.
They're just counted.
Put some more lights on the back or something, if people are gonna back up, more people are
We
gonna
are
back up
gonna,
back. Or,
yeah, we are gonna have the door here too,
yeah. Yeah, I'll have to consider that.
which we could move that over here with that door on the side.
Move that again?
It's the way this parking
All right,
will
and-
move to the other side. This will be your entrance in and out instead of walking all the way around. You know what I'm saying?
I'd have two doors to come in?
So that would make our egress, but
I mean, we'd like to give you a chance to work it out.
Yeah.
Continue to work it
Yeah.
out if you want to continue to work it out and
Just
come
figure-
back.
We'll come back to that.
Or, you know, we have a suggestion, and that, I think, so those are the two. If you'd like to come back and work that out better, that would be maybe the better thing to do, or if you want to go with the staff suggestion, I don't know if staff is close to approval on this.
If that's the only thing that's gonna hold it up.
I mean, I think, so I'd like to summarize what staff is recommending, is that, to see if we got it right, that we propose the removal of 18 and 19 and relocating the landscaping closer to the, I guess, the exit where it's, the egress there, and then the spot next to 17 would be numbered to be 18. Is that correct? Is that what we're proposing?
Yeah, and there's actually space for another space there, too, where
If you want.
landscaping was.
Yeah, where the landscaping was.
So we're taking we're gonna pull the landscaping into
Right, you could actually
18.
move those two spaces closer to the front door.
But 19 would go away. So you're essentially having 17, 18 would be the blank space right now.
And then
Potentially, you could
19 would
add
be-
19
and
where
then
the
19 would be next to the...
landscaping is.
Yep.
So you really are only, I mean,
You're not
based
losing
on the
anything.
count, you're not losing anything, but,
Right.
but you are losing technically one space. But you are improving the visibility for the egress.
You know, the way the parking is now.
Yeah.
You know, we're moving that anyway.
Any other comments from TAC members?
Yeah, just, I know we talked today about the mulch, so that would go somewhere.
Yeah, we'd add a note. I know you said you were going to look up a previous project or a spec, but we can include that.
Yeah, if you just add the note, non-combustible or approved,
Yeah.
then that's fine. And we'll just deal with it.
Yeah, we went to stone in the front because we've always had in a lot of the stores problems with the mulch and
Yeah.
people and
Absolutely.
just maintenance and nothing with all the, being right on the bypass in a busy road. We've gone to this crushed stone, it lasts and it looks, and we don't have to worry about it catching fire.
That would be perfect. That would be perfect.
So this grass parking the parking would be facing,
No, this parking would be moved here. We'd add another parking space here, out past the
yeah, but
building. This would get moved
they
down.
back out this way, it's not, they're coming in this way, right?
But
I
they
mean,
back
park.
out, yeah, they back out
Because
this
I
way.
was saying, a lot of people come around that corner, that's all
Yeah, you got people coming in like this. And this would be a space they'd have to wait and back
I think
out.
we can do that with a
Green
note.
space would be moved down.
See if the
it might work, I'd have to,
And if we're putting the door on the other side,
On the back, so you can
it's
see
a
your
direct shot for people coming in. Look at salesmen and everything else. They
All right.
can park over here.
Do you guys have any other questions? I'm going to open it up to the public for any comments.
yeah.
Okay, we have two callers on Zoom. Family. Let me.
Yes, my name is Kami Chirgowala and I'm the owner of 822 bypass the property next door to the gas station. And my only concern is that during the construction, I know that they have the right to pass from my property into the 802 property. My only concern is that are you going to block the access to 822 during the construction?
No. No.
Catch basins on our property.
Do you have any other comments? Or?
Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, no, that's the only comment.
Okay.
And if you can, I mean, let me know, I mean, if my business will be affected during the construction.
It shouldn't be. I mean, most of that's gonna be outside of the travel area on the backside of his building. We'll try to keep everything on site.
So we can give you a schedule as well when we get there.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it would be nice if you can give me a schedule of when you guys will be starting. So, and we just bought the property last year, so we were not aware of this all going on and all that.
Okay, do you have any further comments, or
No, that's it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Then we have caller Bethany. Would you like?
Okay, oh, unmute. Hi.
Go ahead.
Hi, this is me at 507 Dennett Street, so right behind where they're proposing to place the dumpster up against our fence. I just want to confirm, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I am absolutely fine with the renovations here. The owners have been nothing but really, really wonderful in working with us when they changed out the fence. My concern is the health and the noise around moving the dumpster right up against my fence. It is literally 20 feet from my home. I can see behind the building as it is now, and people are going in and out of the dumpster at all times of the day. It will be extremely noisy. They've been great with working with us when garbage was picking up before 7 a.m. against the city ordinance. However, there are still people using the dumpster earlier and later. My other concern is when the trash pickup comes during the day, you know, they pick up the dumpster, garbage flies out with the wind. If they're picking up right next to my property and the wind catches it, like I see it do plenty of times, I will have even more garbage flying into my yard. I have 2 tiny children. I would really like to avoid the concern over the smell of the dumpster being right behind my vegetable gardens and the noise, because both, I think, are going to cause issues, one being a health issue with having the garbage that close to my backyard.
Thank you.
I think we originally had it somewhere else, and
Yeah.
There is a, what is the setback for that dumpster? Because there's a 10-foot setback, and then the site plan regs require a 20-foot setback.
Yeah, and is it possible to zoom in that corner?
Yep.
Because we have had a couple of options on that dumpster. So right now, the fenced-in dumpster is about 10 feet from the property line. Originally, we had it back more in that corner, but we could shift that dumpster so it's more by spaces 23 and 24, which would...
Puts it into the slope.
And puts it much further from the concerned abutter.
A big buffer.
but
So-
if they pick up, it's a one-way.
Yeah.
I guess the only thing we were trying to avoid is when the truck comes to pick that up, is access to that space. So that's why we had that in that rear line. But
He would have to go down a one-way in the morning for the one travel, but it would make the dumpster out of everybody's way against of the bridge abutment and give us quite a bit of distance from the neighbors.
I mean, we very rarely see anyone parking. I mean, we've lived here for almost 4
Yeah.
years at this point. I very rarely see parking, anyone parked at 27, 26, any of those locations. I don't know if that will change, but just my input from having lived here for a while at this point.
Close to the building.
Yeah. So, yeah, we can definitely look at moving that dumpster so it's further from your property and put it at 23, 24, somewhere in that location. You know, that dumpster truck may have to do a 3-point turn to get in there, but...
Well, if it's an early morning pickup, you know, 21, 22, and 20, there'll be no parking. So basically, if we do 23 and 24, it puts them in the back corner, a straight shot in, back straight up, and then drive around. 26 and 27 is going to be too close to the building. So-
Okay.
So if we did 23 and 24, I think we can gain a lot more space away from the property line, your garden, you know.
Yeah, that's at least better. And my only ask is, you know, if it does come down to when you do get this set up, and let's say you put it for 23, 24, if we're finding garbage is continuing to fly into our yard, is that something that we should follow up with the city or go directly to the owners of the building?
It's always our preference that you try to work with your neighbors first and contact them and make them aware of the problem before you contact code enforcement on this issue. So we would encourage you to always begin with your neighbor. Sometimes problems can be avoided, and certainly bad feelings can be avoided if you just start to bring the problems to your neighbors first.
Okay, and that would still have a fence around it in 23 and 24, is that correct?
That's correct, and that should be better managed with that fencing around it.
Yeah, okay, that's great. And then, in terms of the final resolution to the placement of the dumpster, when or how would we hear if there are updates or confirmation on the location?
If the applicant agrees to this, it sounds like we're going to make that, change our comment to require that. So it would be resolved today.
Did you say I need to inquire back? Sorry.
You do not. The applicant has agreed to that change. I don't think it'll create a hardship because I think most times it's in the morning, and I don't think you'll have folks parking far in the back in the morning. The applicant has agreed to the change that we've requested based on your comment. This was resolved today, and we'll get that updated in our notes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I think it's a better spot.
Seemed like it was moved. It was over there to begin with, over here once and over here once. That was like the newest item.
There's a requirement that, that is a residential zoning district, so it has to be at least 20 feet from the residential zone, 10 feet from a property line. The site plan regs require 20 feet from the property line. So you just need to confirm that, Alex.
Somewhere between 23 and 24 that you've met the 20-foot setback. Is that what you're saying, Peter?
Well, I'm saying that this...
We had that open space.
This is a property line.
Is that residential on that side?
Well, this is residential here, so it has to be 20 feet from this property line.
The other property line against the bridge is that...
That's not residential, but if it's less than 20 feet from here, you'd have to request a waiver from the site plan regs.
Yeah.
Oh, so behind it abutting
This line?
Yeah.
It has to be at least 10 feet to comply with zoning.
Okay.
And if it's less than 20, you can request a waiver from the site plan regs.
Even if it butts the right-of-way? That's true. Is that not right-of-way there?
Right, it says from any lot line.
Okay.
26 and 27 or something.
Well,
Take you
it's
to.
just, yeah.
Let's all go straight in.
Yeah, we'll go straight in this way. He can get him here, but we got to make sure distance, even though it's a sloped in a bridge abutment, we got to be 10 feet.
Okay.
All right.
18, right?
Yeah. I think that'll-
Any other public comments?
We got it. We can make that work.
Currently over here though, but which is right in the.
Well, hi, I actually do have one more question. This is Bethany at 507 Bennett again. The one question is with the LED lights that are going in the back of the building. It looks like they're adding multiple lights. I see one almost next to the bridge near 23, spot 23, and then I see the 3 on the back. Is there a level of brightness that the town requires? My concern is just how bright that's going to be as it's shining into our bedroom windows overnight.
So we did add plans from Keystone Technologies that show the foot candle contours.
Do you have a house side shield spec for that light?
Let's
For
see.
the wall pack or the...
Just because the lens is up, how high? Alex?
Yeah, so the wall pack there is included.
That's a direct down light.
It's that KTWP LED 60.
Those are meant to, the wall packs are meant to light straight down. I think they spread on those are 5 feet out.
Right, but usually the parking lot lights are higher than the wall packs.
Parking, those flat fixtures.
Yeah,
Those poles are 18.
The parking lot lights are definitely up there.
Those are 18 foot. But if you look at,
So you can just get a house-side shield that is like a little piece of tin that just
yeah, well, the way these.
mounts on the bottom of the light so that they can't see it in the window?
Yes, that's when we
Just solve,
went with
you know,
these fixtures was
It's like
because
a
they said,
$14 part that solves all kinds of problems.
yeah, not lighting the back side of the neighbor. We just
Yep.
want to do the hot top.
Yeah, so we can add a note that LP3, that's the light pole in the back, to add a house side shield.
Perfect. Thank you.
So that would be.
This
Great.
guy.
Sounds like you confirmed the lights will shine directly down as opposed to a spotlight like they are now.
Right, because, well, light pole 3 is 28 feet tall. Is that true?
It's pretty tall.
Does it need to be that tall?
Which one is that?
LP3 is 28, yeah.
That's abnormally tall, and actually, I think higher than our old reg used to be. I don't know if they still have that regulation, but
P1 is 19.
is that a wood pole or is it a steel pole?
Steel.
Steel pole. With the large old halogen heads on them.
Mm-hmm. Like a forward throw or a regular head?
It's forward throw. It's a head that's setting up, but they haven't worked. That's why we're.
Yep. So you could probably lower that to 16 feet and get everything you needed done and cause a lot less pain. Maybe you should look at that and see if they can redo the,
I'll see about brackets they offer.
yeah.
So you want 16 feet off a grade is what you're looking for?
16 feet, you know, because,
On that particular one?
because you're higher than their yard, right, to begin with?
Yeah, I think I haven't been in their yard, but I think it's 3 or 4 feet.
It is, our yard dips down.
Yep.
And so the fence, I think, is 10 or 12 feet tall, and then that's about another 2 feet above our yard. So you're probably about 14 feet above us with the fence.
Right, so you start putting a 28-foot pole on, you're 40 feet above their yard, which seems excessive.
Yeah, I'm just trying to work
By
with
any
what
measure.
we had there.
Yep. So if you could mount the new light at 16 feet, that would be great.
Oh, sorry.
And then what's the other pole? LP2 is quite high as well.
That's
Yeah, 1 and 2 are
bypass.
up by the bypass.
Okay, so those are less problematic. And what's the mounting height for the wall packs?
They should be in Keystone's packet, but we can add that to the plan.
But they're like 10 feet off the ground, right?
Yeah, they're going to be below the soffit, and I think the back wall on that's 10 feet, so they may be 9 feet,
That's fine.
just above the back door.
Yep.
Yep, I just confirmed the fence is 6 feet tall. And our neighbors, they're much lower than we are. Oh, it's going to definitely shine into their yard if it's anything, higher than 10 feet, I'd say.
Yeah, the wall packs are usually 9 feet, just above the door.
Okay.
7-foot door commercial. I mean, we can even do a stipulation at 8 or 9 feet. We'll keep them down.
I can add that note as well to capture that.
Mhm. I'll be there for that install.
You have any further comments, Bethany?
No, I don't. I do believe my neighbor had something. I think he's on and he was trying to unmute, so I think he had something else he wanted to add in. But thank you for letting me voice my concerns and just listening. They've been great to live next to in terms of being supportive and listening. So excited for them, but happy to get the dumpster moved a little further from our land. So thank you.
Thank you.
It was, I don't know.
We played with it.
Okay, Lindsay, do you have a comment?
This up there. And then, like I said,
This is Brian Connor. No, to follow up on Bethany's comment, the only concern was just the lighting on the back of the building, and then the LED lights, just because they do illuminate quite well into our yards and into our houses. But it sounds like that's been addressed, and the lights and the design of those lights will be more pointed down because they'll be against the building, and if we can lower them, that helps a lot. So I'm good with that as long as that's noted and worked on. That's great.
All right, thank you. Any other public comments? All right, we'll close that portion and discussion for TAC. What are we thinking?
Peter, does it help if I summarize the comments?
Sure.
So they can decide if they're ready to move it? This comment 1, sewer service, are you satisfied with the explanation that he provided regarding to not shown correctly?
I think the comment was that the applicant will work with DPW to correct the lateral connection location. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so that's been changed then. I think that 2 and 3 are still move sewer service to connect directly to sewer main on Stark, 6-inch service stub installed. That's still standing.
That's if we do confirm.
Now, would that,
sewer comes out.
Understood.
would that stub be on our property line by the bridge side? Is where I'm taking that.
Yeah, they left it there for you guys to connect to.
Did they leave one there?
Yeah, we'll
Pretty sure I
confirm that
remember
with
that
Jim.
happening, yes.
We're gonna be in that corner for the catch basins anyways, so, and we've got the backside, we're doing the addition foundation, so
Yeah, so it'd be easy to get
that'll be an
connected
easy
in there.
hookup, yeah.
So 2 handicap parking spaces, they've agreed to that. That's an outstanding comment to be addressed. Agreed to extend landscaping. I think that they explained that they plan to do that as part of the reconfiguration. Add curbing to the landscape islands, agreed to that as well. We came up with a solution about moving, I think it was 18 and 19. And relocating, I don't have it in front of me, hang on. Parking space 1819 will be removed and replaced with landscaping, and a bike rack that is still standing, it would be 18 and 19. And then I think 18 is going to move, and then potentially move 2 spaces to the blank space in the area next to the blank space.
Correct.
So I'll rephrase that, but I
Yeah.
got that one. Reverse the accessible aisle, I think that's really up to you. We thought you'd save space, I think, by reversing it, but I think, that's not a requirement. Add textured finish to the entryway. I'd like to leave that to staff discussion afterwards. Extend raised sidewalk to connect to the front entry. You've agreed to that. That's an outstanding comment. I also have relocate the dumpster to parking spaces 23 and 24. Add a note of for non-combustible mulch to be used, and that's, I don't think, in there right now. That's a second new comment. LP3, light pole 3 shall be limited to 16 feet with cutoff shields added, is that correct?
Correct.
And I believe the wall pack shall not, in the rear of the building, shall not exceed 9 feet. Those are the outstanding comments that I have.
Do we need to see it again before we
I'm
approve
going
it
to
on?
leave that up to.
Right,
Yeah.
what do you all
Up to you.
And currently, the light we do have on the back of the building, it gets shut off when closing time. So at 9 o'clock, the lights won't be as on unless we have the pole on. Pole will be on 24/7.
No, but we'll have to deal with that, so they're not on photo eyes in the back of the building.
Right.
So they'll be shut off when the employees leave to not shine.
We appreciate your pedestrian improvements for the staff members who happen to walk there.
Yeah, no, I see their points. I'm just trying to work with what I have, that's all.
Move to approve with
With the stipulation.
the list. She said, yeah.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I just wanted to
I'm
make a comment
curious though on.
for you.
Yeah.
So these items that are, work with staff to do. I know, I would just feel better if those are resolved prior to planning board submission.
I would too, Steph. So I appreciate that the first two are not clean. So
I mean, it's fine if it's specific.
it's going to have to be prior to planning board submission. It's going to be prior to planning board submission. As a matter of fact, all these are prior to this.
Yeah.
So they don't.
All right, the next item is the request of Four Amigos LLC, owner for property located at 1400 Lafayette Road and 951 Beverly Hill Road, requesting preliminary and final subdivision approval to subdivide one existing lot with 223,416 square feet of lot area and 789.91 feet of frontage on Beverly Hill Road and 576.28 feet of frontage on Lafayette Road into two lots as follows. Proposed Lot 1 with 111,415 square feet of lot area and 467.63 feet of frontage on Beverly Hill Road, and proposed Lot 2 with 137,276 square feet of lot area with 325.59 feet of frontage on Beverly Hill Road and 576.28 feet of frontage on Lafayette Road. Said property is located on Assessor Map 252, Lot 7, and lies within the Gateway Center G2 district. I'm going to go ahead and read item F so we can take care of both of them. We can vote on them separately, but I'll read them into the record. The request of Four Amigos LLC, owner for property located at 1400 Lafayette Road and 951 Beverly Hill Road, requesting a site plan amendment and a one-year extension for conditional use permit approval for a development site according to the requirements of Section 10.5B40 of the zoning ordinance, and site plan approval for the construction of a 53-unit garden and townhouse-style residential development consisting of 6 structures with a combined total footprint of 37,775 square feet and 122,000 plus or minus gross floor area with associated grading, lighting, utilities, stormwater management, landscaping improvements, and community space. Said property is located on Assessor Map 252, lots 4, 5, and 7, and lies within the Gateway Center G2 district. Who's here to present?
I am. Good afternoon, Chris Chamula, Senior Project Manager of Green Peterson. With me today are members of Four Amigos, Jenna Green, Rick Green, and Kenny Linsman. So we met with the TAC for the work session a couple weeks ago. At that time, we had basically presented a conceptual subdivision plan. We've moved forward, obviously, and formalized the lot line consolidation and subdivision plan. Essentially, we are splitting up the front commercial development and subdividing off the rear residential development. In addition to the lot line and subdivision plan, obviously we submitted a site plan amendment and an extension request based on the 2020 and 2021 approvals. So the plan you're looking at now, Peter, like you mentioned, so the front lot 9 is about 3.1 acres. That'll be noted as 1400 Lafayette Road. The residential lot in the rear, which is a combination of lots 4, 5, and the remaining front portion lot, that'll be approximately 2.6 acres, and the address will be 951 Beverly Hill Road. Each of the lots meets the required zoning for setbacks, lot size, open space, etc. Since we submitted this plan initially, this plan actually goes back to the 2012 approvals for the Rite Aid development. At that time, if you recall, Lot 9 is basically where the Rite Aid and the former Yokins development was located. And Lot 7 was basically the intersection of Beverly Hill and Lafayette. At that time, we had proposed to consolidate Lot 7 and Lot 9. We had moved forward with that, and in 2012, we had received sign-off from the city, and as well as got a recorded plan indicating that the front lot is Lot 9. I've had some follow-up discussions with the assessor, and apparently there was some sort of a mix-up back in 2012, and it's just being resolved today. So Lot 9 in the front is actually Lot 7. Our plans will be updated based on that. And then where we're calling Lot 9-1 in the rear, based on my discussion with the Assessor's Department today, that Lot 9-1 will be Lot 5. So we will update both the subdivision plan as well as the amended site plans to reflect both the addresses, which I did speak to Jamie McCarty about. The Beverly Hill address and the Lafayette Road address are the current and correct addresses that will be used moving forward for the commercial and the residential lot in the back. The subdivision is pretty straightforward. We included that as part of the amended site plan development to make sure that it was all inclusive. We did receive some TAC comments with regards to the subdivision. The first one was with regards to the sewer repairs. Obviously, as many of you are aware, the original layout and development connected to the hotel property to the north of us. There's a cross-country sewer that connects all of our commercial development as well as the future residential development through the hotel property and ultimately out to Morona Road. We've submitted agreements to the city for maintenance and repairs of that line, and we understand that the approval of the subdivision is, according to Mr. DeFossis in my discussion with him today, is sort of contingent on getting that line fixed now. We do have a letter from our client indicating that we are looking to get approval today, hopefully through TAC to move forward with the planning board, and if so, within 60 days of this meeting, we will have those sewer repairs completed through all the way out to Morona. And I can provide you with that letter. With regards to the site plans themselves, we took the feedback and comments from the TAC work session. So Peter, if you just want to go to the site overview plan. Yeah, either the site plan or either plan's fine. Okay. So at the work session, there were just some discussions with regards to adjusting the trees along Beverly Hill Road. There was some discussion of basically pushing those about 2 feet further from the buildings, which we've since done. The sidewalk along Building E, which is the lower building adjacent to the Rite Aid dumpster. There was some discussion that we had originally a 10-foot sidewalk along the left-hand side of that building, and then there was some green space along the right-hand side of the building. We've adjusted both of those based on comments. We've pushed the sidewalk on the right-hand side against the building, and we made the 10-foot sidewalk a 5-foot sidewalk along the left-hand side of the building. We revised the stamped concrete between units D and E. But based on the comments we got from TAC, it's my understanding that the stamped concrete or the stamped pavement is to be removed altogether. We have no issue doing that. We've added 2 trees to the left and right flanking sides of Complex D, which is to the north of the stamped pavement. And we've revised the gravel walkway that goes along the north portion of the site. We removed the hard pack gravel, and we've converted that to porous pavers, which was also requested at the work session. And then lastly, the 5 parking spaces which were previously shown between units C and E, where the handicap parking spaces are. We removed 2 of those parking spaces as requested based on the proximity to the intersection there. With regards to the TAC comments that we got for the site plan, so I would like to note that, so the original approvals accounted for a sidewalk easement along Beverly Hill Road, the sewer agreement to Morona Drive, including repairs of the existing main, the water easement to access the services on site, a sidewalk connection across West Road, including pedestrian crossings. Those are all still part of these current plans. There's no changes to those easements. We can update them as needed based on the new development, but I just want to make sure that everyone's aware that those conditions as part of the original approvals are still included in this development. So with regards to the TAC comments that we received, number 1 talks about the West Road crossing. Yes, that is still in place. Comment 2, were test pits conducted? Yes, test pits were conducted. We have test pits shown on the grading plan. We have test pit information within our details. Those were done based on the original approvals. Comment number 3, the dead end of any water mains, neither fire hydrant or flushing hydrant, we can add that to the plan. Comment number 4 is a technical item as well. Talking about the domestic service, we can make that adjustment. Comment 5, each condo will receive its own water service shut off a meter. We have no issue with that. Comment 6 is the leak detection. As I indicated, we still have that easement, so that's taken care of. Comment number 7 talks about a changing of a sewer manhole on a detail. We have no issue with that. Comment 8 talks about the waiver for the dumpster. So the plan was updated based on the initial work session last time. We did shift the lot lines around the dumpster to make sure that it does meet zoning for having at least a 10-foot setback to the dumpster. The existing lot line along the north side where the dumpster is currently located, that is less than 20 feet as it is today, so we would definitely need a waiver for that no matter what we did for the rest of the subdivision. So we'll submit a waiver to the planning board with regards to that setback. Comment number 9 talks about eliminating visitor parking spaces and adding some bike racks. We have an alternative location of that. So where the 3 parking spaces are, which are located, right there, we'd like to keep those spaces just for overflow parking for visitors. And where the left-hand side, where the former parking spaces were, where we had the 5 spaces and there's some green space, right down, right there. We'd like to add them over there, which to us seems to make a lot more sense because there is a patio area over there. It is more centrally located. So if the committee would be amenable to that, we would propose that for a bike rack location. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we have no issue removing the textured pavement between the units. We are looking to try to be pretty aggressive here in moving towards the planning board. Obviously, COVID over the past couple of years really has put a wrench in the construction schedule. There are current agreements in place with contractors. There's timing. It's already May. Before you know it, it's going to be winter and fall, and so we really are trying to move forward with the construction schedule as soon as possible. And we think that obviously providing the letter stating that we'll move forward with the sewer repairs within the next 60 days, we're hoping that kind of resolves any concerns that the commission may have.
It would be completed.
Yeah, it'll be completed. Yep. So I think that's it. I don't see anything here that's insurmountable on our end. We can make the revisions as needed. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks. Any comments from TAC at this time?
Chris, I don't see any cross water main connections, but I do notice that sewer from the yet to be developed residential lot has to cross onto the commercial lot.
I'm sorry?
The sewer lines that are draining from the residential lot onto the commercial lot, they need easements in case the property changes hands.
Yeah, so that should be as part of the easement that was previously submitted, which is still consistent with the original development. So we have sewer easements that are included.
So you have sewer easements for the lot that you're about to be created in a past plan?
We'll be updating that based on the subdivision, correct?
Okay, see.
Based on the right now,
Yeah.
the current easement did not include a subdivision between the residential and the commercial.
Right, so that's my point.
Correct. So we will
You need to
update.
extend your sewer easements
Yes.
across Lot 9, soon to be Lot 7.
Yep.
From Lot 5, which is currently whatever the heck the lot that is. So you need to show that on your subdivision plan.
Yep.
Thank you.
In 2 spots, right? There's 2 different connections that I can see.
Sure. So you're talking for the
The water main water main seems to have its own connection. Please confirm. If it doesn't, you need one for that too. So that needs to be shown on the subdivision plan.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know if we've asked for it before, but we're starting to request that you, I don't know how many easements we're looking at here, but we're looking to see an easement plan just as a separate document, just so we can find them on the other side, because it holds up your project significantly when we have to match easement documents and locate the easements, especially when there's multiple easements. So we ask that you just create a separate easement plan that we can see and include that in your plan set. If you have a table that has a unique identifier for each of the proposed easements, then we're able, and this short description, then we're able to move this along much more quickly on the post-planning board approval side. It's held up projects sometimes if we aren't able to find them, and matching documents to easements, and which one is this, because they're all called drainage easements, they're all called sewer easements. So we just need to, we're asking just for a little more, a little clean easement set, if that's okay. So I'll add that to our comments.
Okay, go ahead.
So I think it was referenced during the work session, but there should be some sort of an area in each building for the sprinkler riser, the fire alarm control panel, and I believe Public Works is something about the water. Well, I guess the water is going to be separate now. Oftentimes it's just, like a little shed room off the side, but we need something there. There'll be individual shut-offs for the sprinkler in each unit, but
So you're looking for
building one as well.
You're looking for a separate room outside of the building? Is that what you're?
It can be wherever you want. It can be in the building, but it needs to be accessible from the outside and not in a unit. So typically it's.
Okay. And I think we should be able to do that as part of ultimately the construction documents for the buildings. I think that would ultimately be the right place for that. Correct?
I don't have an issue with that. If nobody else cares that the footprint might not be the same.
It looks like you're broken up into equal units right now, not taking that into consideration. So if all of a sudden you have to designate a certain square footage, you're either increasing your footprint or you're narrowing up the units. I think that's the concern, so.
No, we'll plan it in.
Of course, yeah. Okay.
Any other comments? No. All right, I don't see, I think our Zoom callers have fallen off, but I do want to allow for any public comment on either subdivision. Ken, you're on Zoom and here? So.
My son.
Okay.
I think he's in support.
But,
Maybe we should hear from him.
Let me confirm.
but I don't see anyone else from the public.
What?
So we'll close that portion. Any discussion among TAC? We can take these separately, I guess, subdivision.
Do you want me to read through the
Sure.
comments again? I believe item 1 is the crossing at West Road for pedestrians required, and I think the answer was yes. I don't know if that requires any note or change.
We'll add a note to the plan.
Please. So add a note for that. Were test pits conducted? The answer was yes.
Yep.
So, and then dead end of any water mains need either fire hydrant for flushing hydrant, that you agreed to add that. As you agreed to add 4, agreed to add 5 and 6. SMH3 will need to be a 5-foot manhole to accommodate the inside drop. Agreed to add that as well. The waiver would be submitted, and the applicant will request a waiver for the dumpster locations within 20 feet of the lot line. We will amend comment number 9 to provide for bike racks at what location? I can't remember. that you
I would
proposed.
say, so
Down here.
adjacent to the patio area.
Okay, adjacent to patio area?
Yep.
For unit C, or building C, right?
Between C and
E.
Yeah.
Between C and E, okay. And
My question on that, is there, so I think in your original email to me, you're talking a specific number of bike racks. I think based on that area, we could probably fit 5 or 6, I'm thinking.
So I thought there was 7 required. I think that's what we calculated. Is that incorrect? Is there bike racks anywhere else on site?
There are bike racks at the, over by the Rite Aid.
Okay,
I
so
think there's 3 over there.
I thought we have to verify, we'll verify the total number and then we'll indicate to you. I thought the total number, I'm not sure if we counted the existing, the already proposed ones, but we'll verify that and then update the comment to tell you how many are needed per regulations. And then you agreed to remove the textured area between E and D. Asked you to include an easement plan that, and we'll put a comment in about that. And then, was there a comment? I couldn't tell, Patrick, is there still a comment from you, a remaining comment, or?
Just the sprinkler riser room. There needs to be.
We'll provide it in the building plans.
Okay, as part of the building plans include, or,
That, will that be problematic if the building plan comes in with a different footprint than what the planning board approval was? That's the concern.
It would shrink.
Will you be
it would
adding
shrink the
something, or
buil-
are you going to make room for it within the existing footprint? I think that's.
That's his question.
I would think it'll be inside the existing footprint.
okay, as long as it's within the existing footprint.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna be a problem. I mean, we'll deal with it.
Yep.
It'll be what you need.
Yeah.
Just, yeah, I think that's,
Be
Or we'll go back to the
problematic.
planning board.
Yeah.
I think-
amended
we,
site plan.
Pretty simple.
yeah. I mean, if it's a small change, we can look at that administratively, but
Right.
it'd be better for it just, went in with work with your existing footprint, so. We can work, I don't know that would, depend on how big that was, I don't know that we need to go back.
It won't be very big.
Those are the comments that I have. Did you catch any other stuff, or?
Right, and those are related to the site plan, the amendment and the extension, and then,
Oh, I didn't talk about the subdivision, so those were all related to the site
Right.
plan. And the site plan amendment and extension.
So the
And-
easement is a function of the subdivision plan, right? The easement plan?
Yes, so I'm
So
sorry.
that's on that list, not...
I'll move it to the subdivision list to make sure that that's really clear.
And I'm going to remove my stipulation that was made because of the letter, so we'll take the applicant's
And you
letter
also,
and put it on file. Sewer will be done 60 days. Final thing, I'm not sure, Chris, if it's already on here, because we reviewed these plans so many times, but the blanket easement regarding water line leak detection,
Yep.
is there a blanket easement somewhere?
I don't know if we specifically called out on the plan, but there is, we did submit the water easement previously. But I'll have to look to see if, I don't think it needs to be updated based on the subdivision either.
But you're looking for a blanket easement over.
Yeah, it's just so we can listen to the pipes and make sure nothing's leaking. The turn valves, so if you're going to have independent fire suppression valves, be able to access the valves, so we can change meters out and stuff. That's really all it's for.
Okay.
so I can add that just to confirm and provide a blanket easement to benefit of the city for the purpose of
Leak detection,
detection. You had another.
turning of valves.
Yeah, so on 11/12/2021, we uploaded the access easement for water services to the city website.
Okay. So that just needs to get recorded.
Was there another easement that you were asking for, Dave, that wasn't previously provided?
Yeah, the sewer easement across the commercial lot for the benefit of the residential lot.
Yeah, and we'll work with our local attorney and get that written up and work with city staff as well.
Sure.
All right. I think we've caught those then.
All right, so we can take 2 votes.
Sure. Anytime you're ready.
One on the subdivision.
Okay, move to approve.
Second.
All right, all in favor of the subdivision?
Aye.
All right. And then we take up the amended site plan with extension request.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, all right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
And revisions need to be in by,
You're looking at June, so.
Did we put them on the agenda?
Oh, we should put you on the
I think
agenda.
we're
We
in,
did,
I think
yeah.
we're in the May.
Yeah, so can you get them to me by Friday?
That's going to be difficult.
Monday at 8 a.m.?
Yeah. That's a way different
Well, see,
thing.
this is what happens when we double up. So
Sure,
this is
sure.
kind of the concern, this is what makes us always nervous about doubling up, because we're at the back end trying to write the reports, and we get pounded by the planning board by not getting our packets out sooner, and we're always at the last minute scrambling to try and get everything updated, so it's
Yes,
just,
I think more of the complicated things would be, kind of working with DPW on the water line and how you guys want the services and stuff like that. So I think most of the items should be able to be addressed by the end of the week on Monday. Obviously, we're going to be still working with our local attorney to get the easement squared away.
so we need the easement plan. We don't need
Yes.
the draft easements, we need the easement plan. And working with we have our provisions about water service that require that you're going to have to get their approval at some point. Just looking at these, I'm trying to think of what could potentially hold you up. But
Yeah, I believe even on the...
these are plan notes, that's, I guess, what I'm trying to say is.
Right. I believe even on the original approvals, there were items in there that talked about, getting approval from DPW, et cetera, so.
Well, let us know if you can get it in by Friday,
All
or
right, I will.
Monday morning, 8 a.m.
Our original email to you, or Beverly's email to you, said May 9th, so
Which is...
it's Monday.
Okay.
Thank you.
I guess I get some more.
Everybody, take care.
If you're expecting to vary on that, just give me a call, so I have a heads up.
I'll let you know.
No,
I don't expect to vary.
we need it Monday.
Thank you.
All right. Similarly, we'll take the next 2 items together, which will be the last 2 items. The request of Artwell LLC, owner for property located at 437 Lafayette Road, requesting preliminary and final subdivision approval to subdivide one existing lot with 65,365 square feet of lot area and 123.92 feet of frontage on Lafayette Road and 336.61 feet of frontage on Andrew Jarvis Drive into 3 lots as follows. Proposed Lot 1 with 18,434 square feet of lot area and 123.92 feet of frontage on Lafayette Road and 129.57 feet of frontage on Andrew Jarvis Drive. Proposed Lot 2 with 16,606 square feet of lot area and 102.04 feet of frontage on Andrew Jarvis Drive. And proposed Lot 3 with 30,325 square feet of lot area and 107 feet of frontage on Andrew Jarvis Drive. Said property is located on Assessor Map 229, Lot 1, and lies within the Single Residence B District. And item H, the request of Artwell LLC, owner for property located at 437 Lafayette Road, requesting site plan approval and conditional use permit approval as permitted under Section 10.814.40 of the zoning ordinance to subdivide the lot and construct 2 new single-family dwellings. One includes an attached dwelling unit in addition to the existing single-family dwelling. Said property is located on Assessor Map 229, Lot 1, and lies within the Single Residence B District. Take it away.
All right. Good afternoon, Chairman Stith and members of the committee. My name is Justin Masick. I'm an engineer at TF Moran. I'm joined here today by Corey Caldwell, a principal at TF Moran, and Joe Calderola, of Smithfield Construction. This project is a proposed 3-lot subdivision located at 437 Lafayette Road, tax map 229, lot 1, and single residence B zone. The project was presented at a TAC work session on March 8th, where we received preliminary comments and recommendations. The scope of the projects remain generally the same, although we've furthered some of the site design for this current submittal. I'll provide a quick summary of some of the primary updates that have been made since the TAC work session, and then I'll walk through the list of 6 comments that we received from TAC yesterday afternoon. The first notable change is shown on sheet CO2. We've reduced the road width along Artwell Ave in some areas to a width of 26 feet. We've gone ahead and done this to remove some of the impervious area on the site, and then also to provide additional space for snow storage off the road shoulder. The existing road width in some areas is over 35 feet in width, and we just didn't see a need for this type of width due to the nature of the road being just for a private residential street with low traffic. We did some coordination with the fire department in the process of deciding to reduce the road width, and we've added a proposed sign at the corner intersection of Lafayette and Artwell for no parking on pavement to provide sufficient space for fire truck access and any emergency vehicles. The next notable change is shown on sheet CO5, which is our utility plan. During the TAC work session, we had shown 2 proposed utility poles, one on the opposite side of Lafayette and one on the side of the development. TAC had recommended that we remove those poles and try to tie into an existing utility pole along Andrew Jarvis Drive on the north side of Lot 2. And we had some further coordination with Eversource, and we came to an agreement that we would show a proposed electric line underground connecting to said utility pole, and we would have a proposed transformer located on the lot line between lots 1 and 2, and service connections from that transformer to provide power for the new houses on lots 1 and 3. Third notable change is a subdivision plan was added to the set. It's represented on sheet SO2. We ended up adding our easements to this drawing, which include a 10-foot wide easement around the electrical utilities as requested during coordination with Eversource, as well as a sewer and access easement for the 3 proposed lots. And lastly, we've added 2 additional rain gardens, which is shown on our grading and drainage plan on sheet CO4. We've located these in the front yards of proposed lots 1 and 3. And the main purpose is to capture more of the proposed impervious roof area, as well as some of the driveway area from the proposed houses to help mitigate stormwater flow and volume and post-development conditions. And all 4 of the rain gardens shown now are equipped with a 6-inch perforated subdrain that runs along the length of the system, as well as outlet control structures. And we've shown a 1-inch orifice near kind of the pond surface elevation just to provide additional drainage ability during times of the year where the ground freezes. I can go ahead and jump into the comments we received unless any members have comments at this point.
Go ahead.
We received these comments yesterday afternoon, and there were 4 comments to be addressed prior to planning board approval. The first comment states that the gas line should be installed under Artwell Avenue, and services shall come from that side as well. On sheet CO5, our utility plan, with the submitted plans, we were showing those service connections tying through the backyards of proposed lots 1 and 3. And that was going to tap into a gas main on Andrew Jarvis. And our original intent was to try to stay close to the proposed water lines that will be tying into Andrew Jarvis Drive and kind of use that same trenching area. And the existing house on Lot 2 currently has its gas main facing Andrew Jarvis Drive with that service line tying into that same existing gas main there. I just wanted to see if TAC had any further comments on that as to why the shifting of that gas main to Artwell Ave was being requested.
Common sense. Nobody will be looking for it on the road to the high school. Should be located on the road that the houses are on.
If we were to try to run the gas line around the house and have the main on the front of the house, or the meter, excuse me, on the front of the house facing Artwell?
No.
So that's the way it exists now, Dave, on that middle house.
Yep.
The gas line comes from the back. So based on that, we thought it made sense to keep the other two in the same configuration.
No, it's a danger.
Why is that?
Because you won't be looking for it. Something's going to happen in the middle of the night, and no one's going to even think that anybody would be ridiculous enough to put a gas service through somebody's backyard.
Even with the meter in the front corner?
Mm-hmm.
So why do you think they did it for the house that's there now?
I can't even begin to understand it, to be honest with you. Probably because there was no gas on Artwell. That one really should be relocated to the front as well.
So in that case, we can show a connection at the intersection of Lafayette and Artwell. There's an existing gas main that runs parallel
It's right
to the
on the edge of the
utilities.
road.
Yep.
Yeah, it's on the right side. Yeah, the only difference.
The other issue, Corey, just so you know, and I mean, it's not really germane to this particular project, but that gas main's not big enough to serve the high school and the indoor pool. It runs out of gas. So.
One on Artwell?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So
from
or
a-
Andrew Jarvis.
From a
Right.
feeding, yeah, from
So
a
it
supply
really-
standpoint, it's
You're
better.
just better off being on the main line.
Okay, we get it. Yep.
Dave, if I might, on a rear seat here, I'm legal,
Joe, just come up to the microphone, please.
I can't, because I had COVID last week, and so I'll just have to
How you feeling?
I'm better, my symptoms are done yesterday, I'm legal to come, but I still don't feel comfortable being there.
Okay.
I'll push back a little bit on the existing house, that's an existing condition, I can't see why we'd have to do a major extensive work inside the house and change which end the gas service comes through, doesn't seem like that's a bona fide request.
Let's ask the gas company if they can do it while they're doing the work. Let's see what they say.
Unitil?
Yeah.
All right, so for our plans,
It's not so much the gas company, it's the work required inside the house. Because there's a garage on the other end,
Mm-hmm.
so it'd be a tremendous amount of work inside the house.
right.
It's an existing grandfather.
I understand what you're saying. I was thinking that maybe the gas company could just go around the edge of the house and rerun it through the yard. Let's just see what they say.
Okay.
I'd love to get rid of it. It's a problem.
Comment number 2 states ensure easements are provided for access across all proposed lots on sheet SO2 or subdivision plan. We are showing the easements on there now for access and utilities for all 3 of the lots. And one of the subsequent comments was to provide a separate easement plan. And the way that we have the easement shown on this now, I'm not sure if it was an oversight or if we should create a separate plan, or if what's shown on here can serve the purpose for both the subdivision and the easements.
In other words, they're readable on the subdivision plan.
If they're in a table, I think, with unique identifiers, I think that satisfies what I'm looking for.
Okay.
So just that there's a table there that has easements identified and purpose of the easements, and there's a unique identifier for those.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to find them
Okay.
quickly.
So we did create an
I'm trying to-
identifier for the proposed easements
That's what we're looking for.
and put those in the easement notes, easement A, C note X, et cetera. Perhaps if we just to make it cleaner, added a identifier for the existing easements as well. I think it says,
I see that, I can see them on the easement notes.
it does say see easement note 1, and then that note under easement notes describes it.
Okay, I'm satisfied with that.
Okay.
If they're all accounted for and numbered and they're corresponding with
They
it,
are.
that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
what we need.
Makes it easier, I get it.
When you submit it, you may want to make sure you reference when you submit those for review, the ones that are to the benefit of the city that we'd have to accept, you make sure that you kind of have that corresponding language too, and the corresponding notes, yeah. So they can find them.
Yeah, those are there.
Comment 3 was to provide maintenance agreement for proposed road maintenance, and we have no issue with that, and so we can put together a contract for that, a maintenance agreement. And then jumping ahead to prior to construction, comment number 5 was to coordinate final connections of water and sewer services with Portsmouth Water.
Yeah. So again, there's 2 mains on Andrew Jarvis. I would prefer that you come off the front, but I understand that Butch Ritchie just put that line in not too long ago, and it's probably not big enough. So, but there are 2 lines going down Andrew Jarvis Drive. One of them is probably going to be abandoned in the next couple of years. It's the one that you're showing attached to. So I just want to make sure that
So the more northerly located one.
the bigger one, of course, is the one that's all the way across the road.
Yep.
Right. That's the big boy that's going to stay.
And that's what we
We're showing it to the 8-inch now, but we can
Right.
extend it to the 10, or the 12, excuse me.
So just confirm with the water department, before you hop out there, that you know where you're going.
Did you do that? What? Didn't we confirm that with Jim?
Water off of Andrew Jarvis?
Yes.
Generally, yeah, not details though.
Okay. Sorry.
And I guess likewise for comment 6, final connection to which main under Andrew Jarvis Drive will be determined by Portsmouth Water. So we'll be in coordination with Jim and DPW for final sewer and water connections.
There's no easements to the city, you're not granting the city any easements, is that correct?
Let's go to the subdivision plan. I think they were all private easements.
Yeah, they were all one lot benefiting the next.
To the neighbors, to maintain their own road. Now you get
I
5
don't see any, it doesn't look like there are, it looks like they're all either easements for, permanent easements for maintenance for the owner, and then I don't see any other. I'm just asking because we're going to be looking for something different in that submittal.
The
When it goes-
existing easements are summer to the city,
Okay,
but no proposed easements.
very good. We're just, in the future, we'll be, and this just for, heads up for you, we'll be looking, per the deputy city attorney, or the assistant city manager, for just a summary description to get those moved to council quickly, and we'll be providing language telling you, we're looking for a little narrative that includes information, a general map location, but not the meets and bounds descriptions, so we can get those to council. Sometimes these easements are shifting, and then it's a lot of work for legal to get those corrected, so we're trying to get out ahead of that, and that just a future note to you. I didn't mention it to the others, but it'll be showing up in their notes. So I think we used to do it that way, I'm told.
Yeah.
So we'll be doing it again. It goes quicker, and it gives more flexibility for those shifts that occur.
Sure.
All right, any questions, comments from TAC?
Public?
Nobody's. They've all left us.
They all abandoned us?
Yeah.
They died of boredom.
Close the public hearing.
I'm right there with them.
What do we think on these two?
Move to approve with the stipulations noted in the memo.
Second. All right, is that for I'm going to take two votes on this again, because it's a subdivision and site plan. So was that for the subdivision?
Whatever you feel it is for, yes.
That'll be for the subdivision. Item G.
Okay.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Right now, item H for the site plan.
Move to approve with comments.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. We're good to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Note that the other business that we had has been withdrawn. That was the extension for 686 Maplewood.
Was it?
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.